or as an indicator of what we're going to get beginning today in the NCAA tournament in the field of 64, then we're in for a treat. And it all gets started today, 11:15 on CBS, the 8-9 matchup, Louisville-Creighton, from Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. Alabama State, Auburn will follow that. The 16-1 game, that'll be on CBS as well. So you'll be able to leave it on CBS with the opener. It'll roll right into Auburn and Alabama State. However, these first 4 games, at least I'm just going to say half of them, the last 2 nights have been exceptional. This comeback by Xavier last night, goodness gracious. I thought Xavier was playing at home. I was like, is this the NIT? That place was going nuts for the Musketeers to battle back against Texas. Trey Johnson puts up 23. It's not enough. The SEC starts 0-1, Greg, and the people are happy about it.
Oh, people are doing a victory lap. Oh, see? We told you. The SEC stinks. I'm so over it. Like, can we not just allow one? And if the SEC won, we wouldn't be doing a victory lap as victors. Can we not just take the one game, the sole game, as an example of one game? It is not an indicator of strength. It's not an indicator of whether or not a group's overrated, a section of the group is overrated, or what have you. I'm just, God, the overreaction in the immediate is just hilarious.
Well, it helps when your team goes 12 of 25 from behind the three-point line, which Xavier did last night. And the second half was just phenomenal for that basketball team, the way they battled back. And I didn't think Texas played very well in the second half. Xavier down by 13 at once. So if you're just looking at the actual game and how it was played and kind of how it all played out, what happened, I don't know if I'd look at that as a direct indicator of even really what Texas is or was this year, because they were dominant at times in that game. But, you know, it's the way some people are going to look at it. I saw a headline late last night that it was already the mighty SEC starts 0-1.
Yep.
I'm just thinking it's the first 4 game. But, okay.
How good is the inferiority complex?
Certain people, that's how they want to write, and that's what they want it to be, and that's how they're going to go with it. Which, okay, if that's how you want it to be, you can do it that way. But I think I'm going to wait a little bit longer to see exactly how the league plays itself out and what teams can make a deep run. First win in the first 4 grouping for Xavier last night. Trailed by 13 at one point. They were down 41-28 with 4:48 left in the first half. 12 for 25 from behind the three-point line. Like I mentioned, that's 48%. Second most threes ever made in a tournament game for Xavier. And that's since they had a couple trips before the three-point line became official. It was just a strong performance. They shot the ball well. They got momentum. It was one of the biggest. We talk about basketball hitting in waves. Middle of the second half, probably like the last 8 minutes of the game, it just felt like a constant momentum tsunami for Xavier. Like it just, and Texas countered but it never felt like a Texas counterpunch really hurt. It was all like a little pitter-patter jab, and then Xavier would come back with a haymaker, and then 2 little jabs from Texas, and then another haymaker from Xavier. A lot of those were threes, by the way. And then you get a couple breakaways, and Texas couldn't get it done. But if we go by that game and how entertaining it was, Mount St. Mary's had a 12-0 run in the second half, kind of walked away from American. But then we go back to that Alabama State game the night before, how incredible that was with the full court pass tip to go in to get the win at the buzzer beater. Now, not so much North Carolina, San Diego State. That was not very, unless you just want to see a Tar Heel blowout. We get those 2, Greg, for the majority of this tournament, we're going to be in for some fun basketball.
It's been off to a great start and will continue to be. I'm very impressed with what we've seen so far from some of these teams, man. It's just, I don't know, something about maybe not college basketball as much, but there's just something about college sports in general that it feels like there's occasional lack of authenticity with how much the guys care about their institution. I feel like that goes out the door during March Madness. Like it's like the proudest thing ever as like a diehard college sports fan. It makes me super proud to see the emotion and the swings and the ups and the downs of the tournament. I feel like it's college basketball and college sports at its purest here in March Madness. I just really enjoy it. So looking forward to the games today. Today's my favorite sporting day of the year, and I'm not going to be very productive starting at about, 11.
More than Masters Thursday, this one.
Yes. by a mile.
Wow.
Love the Masters. It's not as good as this.
Wow.
to me.
Okay.
Love the
The
Masters.
Thursday coverage is little. You still have the entire field, so you got a lot of different golfers to cover. I don't feel like it's as long on Thursday. Doesn't it start a little bit later? I guess you can get it on Plus now, and then you can kind of watch the main coverage later. But today's an awesome day in sports, man. Like it gets going. You don't want to step away from your televisions. It's like there's things that need to be done, things you need to do, and they never seem to happen. You never seem to be able to get them accomplished. But it's fun to just sit there wall to wall, watch the games. Like for us, it's going to be cool to have Auburn going today because that gives you even that much more to look forward to. It's pretty cool for the state that it's Auburn and Alabama State. We hate that that's going to eliminate one of the in-state teams, but it's just more reason to watch, more reason to pay attention. And I think today you have, like, we filled out our brackets as a family last night, and there are a couple games today that I'll be honest, I just have no idea about.
Really?
You look at Montana, Wisconsin is not one that I'm concerned about. VCU and BYU is one I think could go either way. Arkansas, Kansas is one that I spend a ton of time on. And it's
Are you overanalyzing it?
Yes, of course. We all overanalyze every one of these picks, or the entire bracket. But these are two teams that we have seen be multiple teams in and of themselves across the course of the year. And you'd think that Kansas probably has the better roster. I think Arkansas, when they're good, can absolutely go out and win that game. But is Boogie Flan going to get forced back in for Arkansas? And then is he going to be? How many minutes is he able to give you? How good is he going to be? You just don't know. Yale and A&M, worried about that one for A&M, just because it's a Yale team that is really good from behind the 3-point line, has a legitimate post player. And I think physically is probably not. I think A&M probably, a lot of people think A&M will just bully them physically, and I'm not sure they will. I think they'll be able to hang. One question we're going to ask everybody on the show today is give us a team that is a lower seed that you have making a deep run and why. I'll go ahead and give a hint, and I think you would probably be able to guess mine because I've talked about it. It'll be Drake, but I also know taking on a Missouri team is pretty good. Taking on a Missouri team with Mark Mitchell that if he decides to go off is going to be a problem. So I look like McNeese and Clemson. I love McNeese. I love the way they play. We had Coach Wade on the show, but I've said it all year long. Clemson is a really good basketball team, and people have just looked at the ACC and said, "Oh, the ACC is terrible. That's the only reason they've won 27 games." I think Clemson's good. So yeah, there's a couple of these games today that I was looking at them, doing a little research on some teams, thinking, man, I don't know where to go on a couple of these games today.
Well,
and watch out for UC San Diego, by the way. I know people laugh at that and people think that's funny, but it's not a joke. That team can shoot the lights out. So just be careful. Tyler McGee, 295 threes this year. Just watch out, Michigan.
Is that a lot?
It feels pretty good to me.
Triple dig?
Yeah.
I'm having a very difficult time this year, I will admit. Extremely difficult time this year, picking a couple upsets. There's a few that I like. And I always start right with the 5-12s. That I think is the obvious starting point. I think UC San Diego's the one that I like the most. Not that it's by any stretch a lock, but man, the McNeese one's tough. I would love to go McNeese. I just don't know if I can. So I really like the UC San Diego play. A lot of people are hot on Colorado State. I don't know if I'm there. Kind of up in the air a little bit. The other thing that I'm kind of amazed by is how much love some of these programs are getting. Like some of these programs are, like Kansas, for example. I think Arkansas is winning that game.
Okay.
I don't.
We've
feel
seen
great
Arkansas score what, 14.5?
We've seen Arkansas look pathetic. But in a one and done situation, I want as many pros as I can get on my team, and Arkansas has got a handful of pros. So that one I am all totally on board with. I'm also amazed that North Carolina is favored today over Ole Miss as an 11 seed. I'd love to know the numbers on that. How often a team that is double-digit seeded is favored over a single-digit seed. I can't imagine that happens very often. But there's a bunch of really, really intriguing games that I'm just fascinated by. And a handful of them are going to be here in, the first few hours, first 6-7 hours of March Madness.
No, you're absolutely right. It's Like I said, that Arkansas-Kansas game, I thought to myself, we've seen so many different versions of these two teams. I have no idea what to think, where to go, and how that's going to work. But we got Jordan Cornette coming up for you at 8 o'clock this morning. He'll be doing radio calls for the NCAA tournament. He'll be in the Providence region to start it out. Aaron Torres covers college basketball for Fox Sports. He's with us at 8:20. We'll have Wimp Sanderson, the coach, at 9. Talk to him about just getting ready for the NCAA tournament, having a team get going, what he wants to see, what he needs to see from certain teams. And it'd be good to hear from the coach here on the day that the NCAA tournament is beginning. We've got some college football notes for you as well we got to get to today. Some semi-quarterback news coming out of Alabama spring football. We'll talk to Greg about that, get his thoughts on somebody who might be moving up the depth chart and maybe is impressing this spring. But we're talking NCAA tournament mainly. And we'll talk some NIT because last night UAB gets through. It wasn't a great night in its totality for the state of Alabama. UAB 69-65 over St. Joseph's last night to get to 23-12. Lindenborg again, man, 16 points, 17 rebounds. Also, just throw in 3 assists, 3 steal, and 2 blocks for Lindenborg yesterday. He's all over the place. He's a do-it-all player for Andy Kennedy, and he was there again last night. 52-38 UAB out-rebounds St. Joe's, and 42-32 outscored them in the paint. Had 14-8 in points off turnovers. They only shot 37% from the floor, but St. Joseph shot 33%. Only 4 threes in the game for UAB. All they needed to be able to get that win. And they will go to Santa Clara on Sunday to take on 21-12 Santa Clara. That's at 8 p.m. Also at 8 p.m. on Sunday, Jacksonville State at UC Irvine. I wonder if they just like split up charter out there.
That'd be smart.
Just cost savings.
Combo flight to LAX. Y'all get a bus that way. We get a bus that way. Not great last night in the NIT. Samford goes down to George Mason 86-69. Samford shot 40%. They did hit 12 threes, but not enough. How about Jaden Brownwell? 27 points for Samford last night. 9 of 16 from the floor. 6 of 10 from 3 in the loss. So a heck of a performance. George Mason took advantage of 18 Samford turnovers last night. They were 10 of 27 from behind the three-point line, dominant in the paint. The free throws were also an issue here as George Mason went 24 of 36 from the free throw line. 28 fouls to 16 fouls for George Mason last night. Helps them get the win over Samford. And UNA goes down to Bradley, 71-62. Shot just 34% for the game, 4 of 15 from 3. And Jakari Lane, who we've talked a bunch about for UNA, only 12 points last night. They turned it over 15 times, the Lions did, and they are out of the NIT running for right now. 24-11 right now for UNA. And we mentioned it today, 150, Alabama State and Auburn. How do you view the 1 seeds right now in this tournament, Greg? Because there's a lot of folks that'll say, I think you can get plus 1,600 on having all 4 1 seeds in the Final Four. So the odds are pretty good if you wanted to place that wager that they all push through. I think it's only happened once.
I think it's happened one time.
So, yeah, where are you on the 1 seeds in this tournament?
I have a hard time seeing the 4 1 seeds make it all the way to the Final Four. I like the 2 seeds a lot. Like, for instance, I love Tennessee. I think St. John's is a handful. But no, I would be willing to, I don't want to say bet the house, but I would bet strongly against that happening.
Yep. Well, for example, Tennessee favorite to get to the Final Four out of their region. So, we'll see if that holds true, if that's what's there. Is there a 1 seed you have the most confidence in? I'm going to guess Florida.
Yes.
Like most people.
Yes.
Most people think Florida pushes through. Duke, confidence there that they push through out of the East?
Yes. I mean, I'm still a little bit concerned about the Cooper Flagg injury and whether or not he's going to be at 100%. But, yeah, I think they can push through.
And then Houston down in the Midwest, Auburn in the South. Are you thinking we see more of the Auburn team we've seen in the last month, or do you think we see an Auburn team that sort of resets itself?
Oof. I think we see an Auburn team that kind of resets itself and plays well. I'd be really surprised if they had a disappointing performance.
I'm kind of with you on that. I kind of think that this is an Auburn team that's going to take some time away. I think that they'll get a little bit of rest. They'll get back to being able to work on a couple of different things that maybe they had not been working on the last few weeks just because you're in game mode. You're in that routine of the regular season. I think we see a little bit of a different Auburn. I think that, and this is a good team that they're going to be able to sort of hit the gas and be able to get things cranked up, build some momentum against, and see if they can keep it going. I think the Malik Brown injury for Duke, by the way, like we talk about Cooper Flagg, I think that's one that's just as meaningful as any other for this Duke team that may prevent them from moving on to the Final Four, win a national championship. I just think they're still a really good team either way.
Same.
But they got other good teams in their region, so we'll see how it plays out. Would you have more chalk as far as Final Four? Would you have more upsets? We'll continue that part of this discussion when we come back next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. You go on chalk in your tournament, 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX, or will it be more upsets as we begin to look at our brackets, who we like, who we don't like, how we're going to kind of have things set moving forward? You can share with us kind of your mindset, your thoughts heading into this NCAA tournament as it will begin today. And Auburn going to be in action at 1:50 today. You can hear that right here on WJOX. Coverage starts at 1:30. Also, we know that the pollen is here. Last few days, it looks like a pollen bomb went off in Birmingham. Just the sidewalks, cars covered already in yellow. Make sure your home is healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. Removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. 100 times more effective than standard air filters, 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at Trane.com. It's hard to stop a train. So chalk or upsets, GMAC, when you begin to look at how you have this bracket played out, what you think, how you like it. By the way, we do have one person already chiming in. So Greg doesn't have confidence in Alabama. And I guess that's because you said that you think Duke's a good team.
Yeah, that's what it is. Because if you think Duke's good, you must think Alabama's bad.
So
We've been to weird. Most of those fans usually were one. Now they've switched back. So.
Easy.
I didn't say all. I didn't say you. But
don't you start.
There were enough.
No, I have Alabama going to the Elite Eight, which, by my account, would be the third time we've ever been there if we make it there. Thus, confirming that would be a pretty successful outcome for the season this year.
Pretty good.
To where they will lose to Duke. That's how I see it. I would love to be wrong. I will be in attendance at the Final Four if I am. Love that. Nothing would make me happier. Went last year. It was a great experience. We'll do it again if given the opportunity, and I hope we're there. But if we're not, it's okay.
You could tweet in at Mac and Cube. Let us know your thoughts, upsets, chalk, which direction you're going with this NCAA tournament. Also, tweeting into the show, Greg Skipper saying, it's hard to pick a lower seed this year. Feels more like the chalk will play out. I would be with him. And it's odd because you look at some of these regions, they all look difficult. We had the conversation yesterday when you were out, just that there are certain people that sort of get hyper-focused on one of these regions and think it's just so difficult. I can convince myself that Auburn in the South, it's going to be a difficult run with Michigan State, Texas A&M, who they've struggled against, what Yale did last year. I think Creighton's a really good basketball team. Iowa State, a really good basketball team. Those could all be problematic. Florida, you got to deal with the 2-time defending national champions. Potentially in your second game, Memphis, winning the American in dominant fashion, looks like they're a team that's rolling right now. I've talked about Drake, a number 1 defensive team in the country. What you like there? Texas Tech, a good team. You could continue to go down there with St. John's and what they've done this year. Arkansas or Kansas gets hot, could be problematic. Duke's got to deal with a Baylor team that is solid, an Arizona team that seems to be coming on late. BYU can bomb it from behind the 3-point line. Wisconsin just blew through the Big Ten tournament. St. Mary's a really good basketball team. We know what Alabama's capable of. You go to the Midwest with Houston, Gonzaga, who just ran St. Mary's out of the building in the West Coast Conference tournament. Clemson
ran St. Mary's and shot the lights out.
Yes.
1 of 31 from 3 in the process.
Clemson, we know a really good basketball team. Kentucky, a team that can get hot. Tennessee, going to the SEC tournament championship game. We know defensively, especially what they're capable of. I don't look at anybody having an easy road, but I think with those regions being loaded, I think we get a lot of the upsets before we get to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. And that is advantage 1 seeds, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that we'll see a lot of 1 seeds play much lower seeds than normal. That's sort of when I fill my bracket out, that was sort of my mindset. Always try to just, instead of picking each game, try to come up with how I think the whole thing is going to play out.
Sure.
And that was sort of my sort of story for the tournament when I filled my bracket out was going to be, yeah, it's chalky, but it's not going to be chalk that the 1 seeds are really going up against to continue to advance.
But if you really look at how it plays out most of the time, by the time you get through the first weekend, yes, there will be an 11 seed likely in the Sweet 16, just based on law of averages. If you look at the history of the tournament, or at least this version of the tournament, where you've had play-in games and the 11 seeds are playing in playing games, I believe every year there's been someone that has played in a play-in game that has advanced to the second weekend. So that's always something to consider. Can Xavier be that team this year, perhaps? That's always something to be mindful of. The other thing that is really always interesting, there's on average 2 5 seeds that lose to 12 seeds, on average 1 4 seed that loses to a 13. And then every other year, there's a 14 that beats a 3. So if you look at just numbers, statistically, yes, those things can happen in the first round. But when you get to the Elite 8, it's very rare to see double-digit seeds. Now, does it happen? Sure, it's happened before, but it's very rare. So that is just something to be mindful of if you're filling out your bracket here at the last minute. Be bold in the first couple rounds, but it gets real chalky fast as you start to progress to the second round of the tournament and obviously the Elite Eight.
And a lot of those games to potentially be bold about, are just those are tough to pick in and of themselves when you're trying to think of where they're going to go, what they're going to look like, how they're going to be. So it's easy to run through a lot of chalk this year, and we'll see how it plays out. Stephen Diller tweeting into the show, I feel like Liberty is a good upset pick, which would kind of go along with what we're saying. You get Oregon out, and potentially Duke might not have to face the Ducks, or potentially won't have to face the Ducks. You still could have Arizona coming out there. But that could be one that people look at, GMAC, and say, all right, I think Liberty could be something that knocks one of the higher seeds out earlier, which could be an advantage for the 1 seed Duke. And potentially, I mean, maybe they continue running through. Maybe that becomes advantage Alabama a little bit later in that region.
I think that Duke's ankle injury situation with Cooper Flagg is something that is massively beneficial to Alabama. I think that's something if you get Duke on the wrong day at top tier, maybe that's something else. I also think that Alabama played the hardest schedule in the country. So there was some serious fatigue down the stretch, I believe. Just watching them, they looked fatigued. Physically, mentally, emotionally, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I am curious, now that some of these SEC teams in general, generally speaking, now that some of these SEC teams are finally going to play teams that are human, how much will that benefit the SEC teams? And I know playing 2 games in 3 days is hard. I get that as well. But 2 games in 3 days as opposed to 1 game a day in the SEC tournament, and for the last 2 months playing nothing but top 20 teams in every possible metric, can get exhausting. So I wonder if the SEC ends up maybe having a better tournament than we originally anticipated, because the grind of having to play against teams that are like-minded is not nearly as significant.
I have the SEC strong late. I don't have it as a good first round for the SEC, which people are already excited about because Texas went out. I think it'll be a little bit of a disappointing.
The first round.
This is the first round, not the first 4, but the first round. Which, if you wanted to include the first 4 in that,
remember those couple of years where it was
that?
The first round was the first 4. Remember how confusing that was?
Sometimes we overthink things, kind of like my bracket. I think the SEC will finish strong as far as the Elite 8 and the Final 4, but I do think that today and tomorrow will be a little bit disappointing. That's just my opinion. That's just where I have it going. But going back to, say, Liberty and what that team might be, Conference Player of the Year, Talon Peter, 3 30-point games this year. So a guy who could catch fire. He is a transfer from Arkansas Tech. And one thing that I continued finding myself doing, Greg, is sort of the teams that I felt like are carried by one guy, I immediately lost confidence in. And it's crazy because we've seen that player, and we had the conversation, like, who were some of the best players you remember making runs, like whether it was John Wallace, whether it was Steph Curry, whether it was Kemba Walker. That has happened often. It's happened a lot. But I just think with how much age has changed in college basketball, how many good players are, like we're talking about right here with Talon Peter, but teams who have 2 or 3 or 4 of him that have played now 5, 6, 7 years of basketball and are going to be helping these teams manage an individual player that can take over. Is that going to be the big differential? So for Liberty, that might be tough because you're thinking about like the Conference USA Player of the Year, Jerome Pierre, who we just saw go for 12 points in the NIT, and his team goes out. So also all-time Liberty, 0-7 against Big Ten teams since they transferred or moved up to Division I, and that was in 1988. So not the best look against Big Ten teams, and they get Oregon, which technically isn't a Big Ten team yet, or will ever be in my mind, but I guess we're going to count it as that as such. Like Easy Wolf tweets in and says, "Whoa, I call Cubelic. Baylor has to deal with Hell State basketball first." Once again, looked at Mississippi State, like some of what they do. Keyshawn Murphy good in the paint, but from a scoring perspective, it feels like a bit of a one-man show. I know Murphy gets his inside, but it's like if you can mitigate Josh Hubbard, I think you beat Mississippi State. And I think Baylor can do that. So I had Baylor advancing there.
I also have Baylor advancing.
John, you going to make it a clean sweep with Baylor over Mississippi State? Or do
I don't
you
want
care?
to. Makes me sad.
I didn't. I took Mississippi State.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. We do have one SEC homer on the show, John Saber, the one everybody was thinking was going to be the SEC homer on the show. Very oddly,
other picks.
very oddly, and I know it's only happened once, but I have all 1 seeds in the Final Four.
I don't hate it because
Wow, no reaction from that. Okay.
I mean, I'm just amazed.
the one year
I can't wait to hear. Hold on, John. I can't wait to hear where he goes with this, because why he either makes fun of this or why he says this is stupid or why
I play the averages. So like on average, 2 unseeds make the Final Four. I have 2. I for one think that Baylor is going to go, or excuse me, Baylor. I think that Houston is going to go out as we navigate through it. I think Houston's going to go out.
I don't love their path.
I don't at all. I
You
think
get
it's
Gonzaga
a
in the
path.
second round that's hot. You could get
Gonzaga's great and they're tournament tested. I think Clemson is tournament tested. They're excellent. Big fan of Clemson. They to me are the most misseeded team in the entire tournament.
They're 5.
They should be a 3.
Do you ever pick an upset just because you say, I haven't picked enough upsets and one's going to happen? Like I did that with Purdue and Clemson. And I have no idea why. I don't really know. I actually think Clemson's a better basketball team, but I just said there's going to be something in here that goes against everything. And so I have Houston playing Purdue.
Call me the SEC homer in the group, but I am, and I think we all might fight for that title. But the Big Ten, I don't like them ever in the SEC tournament or in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
They really don't like that. I really don't like their chances in the SEC tournament.
Oof. Well, the
It'd be a
SEC's only
Specifically
been
that big,
500.
specifically that Big Ten team in the
I
tournament
just
the last
feel
few
like
years.
they're slow and they're clunky. And while you can look at the Arizonas of the world or the Oregons of the world, and okay, Oregon's fun to watch.
Michigan State 4th in the country in fast break points.
I like Michigan
Slow
State.
and clunky.
I have Michigan State in the Final Four, which means
over
there's
Auburn.
I might have Auburn going out against another SEC team in the first
Alabama
round of the
State?
second
Wow.
weekend. No, I don't see that one happen. No. I am a little worried. I will admit, I think Auburn will recenter, and I think they're going to look great in these first 2 games. I really do. But I think some of the warts that were revealed in the final 3 or 4 games, I am a little concerned about it, if you want me to be completely honest. And I think A&M's a team that can fluster them. I think A&M's a team that can kind of poke the bear in Chad Baker-Mazara, and then he starts freaking out. And I think the Auburn's key. If Tahad Pettiford plays as well as he's capable of playing, they can win the national championship. I think he's the key, even more than Janai Broome, even more than any of the other guys. If Tahad Pettiford plays out of his mind, I think they are as good as anybody in the field.
Yeah, because we've seen Broome be great down the stretch and then not win. So
I don't think it matters. I think it's Tahad Pettiford.
Well, part of it doesn't matter for Broome because he hasn't been hitting his free throws. He's got to hit free throws if they're going to win a national championship.
Well, I also look at Tahad Pettiford. How many times this year when you watch Auburn, the other team starts to develop some momentum? I mean, it's like, and it had to have happened 6-7 times in the Alabama game. It happened 2 or 3 times in the A&M game. I feel like it happened. I mean, gosh, every time I watch Auburn, the second things are starting to slip away, who steps up and stops the bleeding? It's Pettiford.
A lot of times it has been.
It's unbelievable. It's like as soon as you start to think, oh man, we got the inside track, we're making our move. Boom, he goes down, hits a 3, and it's like, all right, well, there goes that run. It's unbelievable. And the guy's incredible. So if he plays great, I think they're in a great spot. But if they don't, concerned.
Here's my concern with one thing you just said, and it's Yale. And that's not for Auburn, but for Texas A&M. Texas A&M's got to get there. Yale shoots 39% from behind the three-point line. They also have an overly reliable big in Bing that I think he set the record for triple doubles for Yale in a season. So they can play inside. They can obviously play outside. We know what they did to Auburn last year. I think it's a much more difficult matchup for A&M than people are thinking right now. And if you were to get either Michigan or UC San Diego, who we just mentioned can shoot the lights out, A&M not a good three-point shooting team. So if you, let's say you got UC San Diego in the second round, can they keep up if that turns into a bit of a track meet? That's not A&M style of game. So I just think that A&M's got some potential problems in front of them before they would even get to Auburn. But be interested to see if Auburn resets or not, if they look like a different team and kind of where they go.
I think they will. I just worry their first couple games, they're going to come out. Everyone's going to be as hot as ever on Auburn. Everyone's, oh man, they are back. Like they are back. They're going to look incredible. They're going to win by 30 each of the next 2 games. And then I'm serious.
No, I'm laughing at Michael Kirby said, he tweeted into the show, if an SEC team cuts down the nets, the media will headline it as 13 SEC schools lose an NCAA tournament.
It's so true. It's so well said. I love how we live rent free so much. We're just a little old Southern conference. That's all it is. Just a little team. Just a little conference down here in the South.
Conference. We got one of those. It's
there's just a little conference down here in the South. That's all it is.
That's all. That's it.
We're just plugging along.
Greg Skipworth also says Auburn loses to Michigan State. There's a lot about Michigan State that would not make that a super favorable matchup for Auburn, but Michigan State's got their work cut out for them. Bryant is an up-tempo team, so that is like, that's kind of an oxygen tank game, like whoever just is still standing at the end. There are a couple of teams I feel like I just don't know much about. Oregon's one of those teams. Marquette's one of those teams. I have not seen a lot of Marquette this year, so I really don't know what to anticipate with them. But could they be a problem? I know Iowa State can be a problem. If North Carolina plays the way they did 2 nights ago, they're a problem for anybody. I mean, you go out there and shoot 57% from behind the three-point line. It doesn't matter what seed you are, where you're from, what conference you played in. You're probably losing if North Carolina does what they did the other night. Now, they're not going to do that for 6 more games, but if they shoot like that, it's going to be a problem for anybody to put them out. So, the conference conversation is going to be very interesting because people are going to lean on it. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure how much it matters because it's about individual matchups here and how you can match up with another team's style and how you can match up with another team's roster. A lot of that matching up too with your health personally, you want to get better. If you lack energy, if you're getting poor sleep, if you feel on edge, could be the effects of low testosterone. Game Day Men's Health wants to help you today. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now. Sign up for a free consultation. You get a free PSA test, free testosterone test, and they have peptides in stock and weight loss programs for you right now. Mention Mac and Cube when you walk in. Save 10% on any of those services. Locker room environment, stress-free. Not going to try to push you into things that you don't need. Holistic approach to health and wellness. It's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com today. Sign up for that free consultation and let them find out what they can do for you. All right, more tournament. Your thoughts on 1 seeds making it through. What are we going to get from Auburn and Alabama? Next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, so if you're like me and you don't know much about Marquette, here's what we got for you. 37th tournament appearance, 4th consecutive. Won a national championship in?
Lacrosse.
No, the year in basketball.
Oh. 1874.
No. What was the field then? 3?
2.
Them, Army, and probably Swanee.
2-game round robin.
1977.
Who is this?
Marquette. They're 23-10 this year. They are 44-37 all time in the tournament. Shaka Smart 4-6 is the higher seed in the NCAA tournament. That's weird.
Well, he had an unbelievable run at VCU, so that throws off the numbers.
9.3 turnovers, 2 points per game. They force 14.8 turnovers per game. They are 3rd highest in Division I in points off turnover differential. Cam Jones, 23 games with 5 assists, also scored in double figures in 49 straight games. So you're going to want to manage Cam Jones, number 1. And you're not going to want to turn the ball over, number 2. That could be problematic. So just one of the teams out there that we kind of say we don't know a ton about. We're looking at. Is there one for you, Greg, that you feel like I just don't know that team? Yeah. I don't know what to think about that
There's
squad.
About 7 of them.
Who's at the top of that list for you?
I mean, for me, it's there's about probably 8 of them, to be honest with you. Like there's like Wisconsin, I'm actively trying to learn more about. I know they're good.
Yeah, I caught them in the Big Ten tournament a little bit.
I only saw them in the championship. Like that's the only time I watched them all year. I don't think I saw them hardly ever outside of that. I don't know anything about Oregon right now.
All right, so first we'll go Wisconsin. All right, 26-9.
Yes.
28th tournament appearance, 2nd straight. Won the championship in? Not ice hockey, John. Basketball of the year.
52.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like 60s.
41.
Oh, heck yeah.
40-26 all time in the tournament. They are averaging 79.7 points per game. That would be their most in a season since 71 and 72. 17 games they've scored 80 or more points this year. School record for threes made, 347 made threes this season, 6th most in Big Ten history. So they can shoot from behind the 3-point line, multiple guys that can do it, and that's going to be the main thing I think you have to deal with there. Oregon was a team for me. You say that's one for you also?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't feel like I have a good feel really on what this Oregon basketball team is or what they're going to be able to bring to the table. So it's one that I think kind of makes it a little bit confusing up there in the East.
What about Maryland?
Maryland, what are they, the Crab 5? Like I feel like I got a pretty good feel on their starting 5, how good they are, what they're capable of doing. I don't know how far I have them advancing per se, but I do have them winning in the first round. Yeah, I have them going down to Memphis. Let's go to Oregon for a second. 24-9. 19th tournament appearance, 2nd straight. Won the title, actually, in not track and field, but in basketball of the year.
It's 2000 to 2001.
No.
No, wait, 03.
Close. 39.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yes. 28-7 team all time in the tournament, 5 seed, highest since 2017. They had a couple waves across the course of the season. They played good basketball, then not as good a basketball. So Nate Biddle, 2nd in the Big Ten in blocks, 2.2 per game. So now Biddle posted more points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks in 33 games this season than across 57 in his previous 3. So he's come a long way. He's a force in the middle that you're going to have to sort of be worried about. So Oregon, a team that has a post presence and obviously a rim protector. If that's not something that's going to hurt your team very much, then you might be able to move on. Is that going to be an issue for Liberty? We don't know. So there you go. Other team you mentioned, Maryland. I'm with you on that. I don't feel like I know a ton about Maryland. A little bit.
Nothing.
Seen them a little bit this year, but not to where I would think I would feel extremely confident about what they're going to be. And then they get a dangerous Grand Canyon team. One of the lower seeds who's put together a great record, but you just don't know about the level of competition and what they're going to end up being.
I'll tell you this. I feel like because of the now SEC relationship with ESPN and the fact that pretty much in our house, we're just watching ESPN. Like, okay, in the fall, we'll watch Fox because we need to see what's going on in the Big Ten. We need to be dialed in. But, like, I'm not turning on a lot of Fox for basketball. I know it sounds weird.
Not your go-to?
No, I mean, I've had the Sunday game on a couple times. You know, CBS has a Sunday game every once in a while. See them on Friday every once in a while. Like, so I'll have that one on every once in a while. But pretty much if I'm watching hoop on Tuesday, Thursday, or on Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Saturday, it's probably almost always on ESPN. I know it sounds bad, so I feel like I'm really dialed in on these SEC teams, but I know less about the Big Ten, and I know less about some of the other conferences than probably ever before. I mean, I know about Illinois, for example, because I went to an Illinois game against Alabama, but I couldn't tell you a whole lot about some of these other teams. Like I don't know a whole lot about even the Big 12 teams in some examples. Like I've watched Iowa State twice this year. Twice. I've watched I probably watched Texas Tech once. And these are not usually the case.
How many times have you seen SIU Edwardsville this year?
Haven't seen them. Haven't seen the tape. No.
Okay.
That's actually, you have to subscribe to ESPN Plus.
Got it. Golf and Moose tweets in, do y'all have a bracket pool? Would love to get in.
We actually do, and you can win $1 million, but you better hurry up because the $1 million bracket challenge is back. Pick a perfect bracket, you win $1 million. It's that simple. Pick 60 or more games correctly, you can win $10,000. Plus, one local winner with the best bracket will score a $250 gift card to Twin Peaks, where you can catch three-man front later today and tomorrow. For more information and to make your picks, go to joxfm.com, joxfm.com, and click on the $1 million bracket tab. You don't have much time. I believe it ends at 11 o'clock this morning before the tournament tips, so you better hurry up and get in. And good luck from Jox 94.5.
All right, a couple other folks tweeting in just on some teams, some games they think could go a certain way. You can always tweet into the show at Mac and Q, be a part there via Twitter. Coach D. Reynolds tweets in, UNC about to go on a little run, unfortunately, until they see Auburn. And we talked yesterday, Greg, like, is UNC vindicated now? Do they deserve to be in? Are they a team that you think can carry that momentum on to the field of 64? Do you think that the UNC does go on somewhat of a run because of what we've seen already?
I do not. I think you're flawed. You're flawed. I mean, they've been flawed. Doesn't mean they can't potentially get hot, but they've been a little flawed. And yes, while there have been some nice things that have happened here these last few weeks, I am still not of the belief that they're a real player as things move along. You see it differently?
I think they should be. I think they're a concerning matchup for Ole Miss.
Sure.
And
there's still North Carolina.
Have an opportunity to get past Iowa State or Lipscomb in the next round. It's possible. Yeah, I could see it. A couple others coming in. And to your point, Golf and Moose tweets in, Greg, it's like the Big Ten's hiding their basketball games on Peacock or something. No wonder no one sees them.
Oh, no.
So no, that's Golf and Moose tweeting into the show. It's not us.
Don't.
A couple other teams people are asking about, a little bit of a deeper look at Maryland and more on the tournament next. Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. At Mac and Cube, be a part of the show there. Tweet in. Stephen Dillard says, I also think Colorado State and Utah State could make some noise. We'll take a look at them here in a moment. First, Greg, tell our listeners about Bromberg's.
Bromberg's is a terrific place where you can get exactly what you're looking for that timeless item that you are going to need in your family. Look, I've been shopping there for years. I've always had a tremendous experience. I've always so appreciated the service that I've received when I've walked into Bromberg's. It's really amazing. I really appreciate very much the people of Bromberg's and the selection of Bromberg's too. You can go and get that timeless piece of jewelry. You can get a natural diamond. Those natural diamonds are responsibly sourced and they support communities all across the world. So go and check them out at Bromberg's in Mountain Brook Village and at the Summit.
All right, Maryland comes in 30th tournament appearance all time, 25-8 on the season. They are 43-28 all time in the tournament. Won the title back in 2002. Played well down the stretch. Won 12 of their last 15. 3 losses by a combined 7 points down the stretch. Balanced is what you need to know when you're talking about Maryland. 5 qualified players with over 12 points per game. 5 averaging in double figures. Their defense ranks 5th in Division I. That's in adjusted defensive efficiency numbers. But center Derek Queen, probably the guy, 16.3 per game, 4th most of any freshman in the tournament field. The leader of that pack, Trey Johnson of Texas, is already out. Cooper Flagg would be next. Oklahoma's Jeremiah Fierce would be right after that. Scored 31 in the Big Ten tournament final against Michigan. First Maryland freshman ever with 30 points in a conference tournament game. He has 14 double-doubles this season. That's tied for second most by a Big Ten freshman over the last 20 years. Tied with?
Pistol Pete.
We're going to go with a couple like old, good, not old school, but kind of old school college basketball names that were fun to watch. Greg Oden.
Greg Oden?
By the way, Pistol Pete not in the Big Ten.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
Greg Oden.
Second most by a Big Ten
drop.
freshman. How about first all-time double-doubles in a season over the last 20 years for the Big Ten?
20 years.
I'll give you a hint. I don't think you can get it, but when you hear the name, you're going to know. Same school. Because he didn't do much in the NBA either, but he was really good in college.
LeBron James.
Jared Sullinger.
Oh, yeah.
Sullinger could get it.
He
back
was
in
good.
College. Didn't do well
Ohio
in the
State
NBA.
had a little run there where they were pretty sporty.
Michael Redd and those guys, like
Yeah.
they had dudes for a minute.
Who's the guard they had that was legit on the on those Oden teams? I'll look it up.
Michael Redd was there
it wasn't
for a little bit of it.
I think Oden's what, like 2007?
Mike Conley.
yes.
Jr. It's junior.
He wasn't junior then.
Oh, really? He just became a junior.
I think he just went.
Noted.
Started going. He was just Mike. He started going by it.
Daquan Cook on those teams as
They
well.
were good.
Yeah, had some dudes back in the day that could play. And like you said, just a little run. Costa Kufos on those teams, first round pick also. And don't remember the tape on that one. And Greg Oden, first overall pick. Greg Oden was the real deal in college.
So sad that his knees just wouldn't cooperate because he was a great player. I mean, he was that can't miss big man, the next Dwight Howard. Remember, that was like how everyone was phrasing it.
That's what you want to be, is the next Dwight Howard.
Well, I mean,
If you're
Dwight
talking
Howard.
about all-time great centers.
He had a pretty good
Dwight
career.
Howard.
I mean, he was a good. I mean, at that point, he was pretty good. He wasn't terrible.
That's because he looked 82.
Under.
That microfracture procedure is no joke.
Nah.
And when I heard he was having that, I was like, yeah, no, probably not. You don't hear a lot of guys in any sport be able to come back and be close to what they were before that and get things going. We'll take a look at a couple of the other teams people are asking about. Talk to Jordan Cornette, who's going to be up in the Providence region for the NCAA tournament, on the call for multiple games. He'll give us his thoughts on those and the rest of the field next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Hour number 2 underway. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Jocks 94.5. Listen online at jocksfm.com. That app's in your app store, iPhone, Android. You can always download that for free. And listen on the go. Watch on the go. We're live on YouTube each and every morning. Jocks 945. You can search that and just hang out with us each and every morning. We'll get to Jordan Cornette here in just a moment. I want to tell you about your CBD store. If you have a pet that's having trouble getting around the house, getting older, the arthritis is setting in, hips, knees, a little bit of a problem, your CBD store has treats to be able to help your pet get around a little bit better. They've helped multiple pets in my household with this over time. They can help yours as well. Maybe arthritis is a problem for you. They can help with that. Anxiety for you or your pet. Those storms come in, like we saw a couple last night. The pets get nervous. They have products that can help you there. Also, skincare, gut health for you. And if you need a little bit better focus throughout the course of the day, your CBD store has answers for that. So go check them out at one of their 3 locations. Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers. You know that they're going to be right there. You're going to be able to check them out, get the products that you need. Also, 150 by the Cage in Cleveland. Trustful just off 459. Your CBD store where good health hits home. I was watching conference tournament games last week, and I look, and all of a sudden in the background, I see this familiar face. I'm like, hey, I know that guy on the radio call, Jordan Cornette, who calls multiple conference and basketball games and going to be calling NCAA tournament games. You are going to be involved with the game. We gave like 3 or 4 out, Jordan, that we said when we were filling out our brackets. Like, I could have gone back and forth for hours, and it just, at the end of the day, everything you look into, talk about, read about, you just hit the reset button. You think, all right, I really have no idea about this game. It's Kansas and Arkansas. These 2 teams, I feel like, have been so many different versions of themselves this year. How do you even go into it thinking you have any idea what you're going to get from either one?
Well, you don't, because there's so much inconsistency with both teams. And for blue bloods like this or annually, very high-level teams, we've got a few squads that kind of sit at those lower seeds that you don't really know how to process how they'll look because how they've been through the season. Now, the interesting part in that matchup, I think the biggest storyline is Boogie Flan returning for this Arkansas team. And Boogie, I mean, this guy's a 5-star. This guy's a potential lottery pick. This guy's a dominant, impactful, game-changing point guard who's missed the last 15 games, which credit to Coach Cal to even get them in position in the tournament. He's been without 2 of his best players for most of the season. But Boogie's coming back in this game. How Boogie impacts this game looms large. I can't imagine Coach Cal is going to play him on the ball as the point. They'll probably play him off the ball, and he's going to be a higher gun, hit shots. If he can knock down shots in this game, they're probably going to insert him, hoping to play him 15 minutes. But if he's looking good, he's impacting the game, he's making shots off the ball, he could play a 30-minute ball game and be the difference. So the biggest thing to me is the personnel and Boogie's ability to be an impact guy for Arkansas. If he doesn't give them that lift, I do like Kansas in this matchup.
What is it? What has gone wrong with Kansas this year? Someone's going to have to help me out because I've watched them early and they looked pretty good. And then it's all of a sudden the wheels fell off. But it's not like they've had some outrageous run of high-level injuries and guys missing time. Like, what is it that's just not working for them that's led to such a disappointing season?
I mean, I think roster construct is not ideal for this group. I mean, look, they missed on one of the biggest transfers in the portal. A.J. Storr was a high 6-figure guy for them that just never panned out. And when you put a lot of emphasis on him being your wing boost that he doesn't provide, you're kind of playing from behind all season. Defensively is where they had to lead the way, but talking with Coach Shelf, a good friend of mine, and be around him the last few days, he's just like, we just haven't had the connectivity on all fronts that we've needed to win and that we've had year in and year out. And, this group has had to grind for the first time in a long time there in Lawrence. And he said, it's not for a lack of effort. It's just there's mental breakdowns at points, and this group needs to be locked in. And when you say those kind of things, it draws me back to you're putting a bunch of rigid pieces together year by year. It's just the reality of college basketball. It's the reality of college athletics right now. But I think it has a bigger impact in college basketball. And with Hunter Dickinson, he's a heck of a talent. He's not the best athlete. He's a skill guy. So sometimes defenses can attack him, get him out on the outside, get him in pick and roll defense to kind of expose him. There's a lot of holes in this Kansas team, and we're not used to seeing that. They can be attacked defensively. They don't have the shot makers necessarily in isolation to punish you like they've had in years past.
Jordan Cornette going to be on the call for the Providence region. via radio for the NCAA tournament. How real is St. John's? They're a 2 seed. We know that. We know what Coach Pitino is. But it's a team that I think when you talk about veterans, they're going to have them. Experience, they're going to have it. But compared to some of these other teams in the field that folks like to make deep runs, where is St. John's in your mind?
So Cole and G, let me tell it to you like this. I know how you guys roll. A lot of my guys are football guys. Some of my closest friends. I consider you guys friends of mine. I know how you guys view us basketball players. We play indoors. We sprain an ankle. We don't move the drill. We shut down practice. We stand over and we pray. Like, we're different. I know you guys. I know what you guys think of us basketball guys. When you watch this St. John's team, these guys are football players. I mean, these guys are as tough as it comes. They're not the most skilled guys, although R.J. Lewis is incredibly skilled. Kadari Richmond is incredibly skilled. Aaron Scott's a shot maker. But they are just hoopers. They go out there and they just bully you. They intimidate you. They make you meet them at the top in terms of motor, aggression, physicality, how they're going to play. And if you don't meet them there or get close, they're going to embarrass you. If they shoot the three ball at a high level, the ultimate variable for a team that struggles there, if they're making the three, nobody can beat them outside of maybe Florida. That's how good they are if the three ball is falling. Now, they don't need that to win because defensively, it's 40 minutes of hell, 94 feet. They're going to get up in you. They're going to guard you. They're going to turn you over. They're going to win the backboard. They're going to get in the passing lane, translate defense to offense. They are just a bunch of grown men, 23, 24-year-olds that are just going to make you play a man's game. And that translates in the tournament because teams go cold. And when they do, how can they generate productivity? St. John's has been lifted by that all season long.
What else about St. John's kind of – how did he get it going so quick? I mean, like, did they have good pieces? Clearly it's culturally – he's created a culture of toughness. That's obvious. But what is it about this team that has all of a sudden just flipped the switch so quickly?
Well, I mean, for one, he's the greatest active coach in college basketball. Everybody's been well aware of that previous to this success. I mean, he just has an identity, and he knows how to get the personnel to fit that identity. He's always going to be – we're going to be the most well-conditioned team in college basketball. We're just going to allow us to always have a defense that makes it impossible to score on. We're always going to get physical guys. And you look at all his teams, there was some crazy stat. Like, there's only been three or four teams that have gone to the Final Four that have shot worse than, I think, 33% for three. Three of those teams were Coach Pitino's teams because he says, hey, look, we don't need to follow the trend of shooting. We need to get these type of guys. Now, on top of that, in this NIL world, he's got the Body Armor founder that has put a lot of money into their ability to go get guys, maintain guys, keep guys that may have entered the portal for, that continuity that is needed. You have to have with these programs, and you're going to see it through the tournament, besides some Cinderellas, but the staying power in this tournament, I imagine, is going to be teams that have healthy NILs, that have identities, and have great coaches on the sidelines. And Pitino has been able to do that quickly.
Jordan Cornette, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, has competed in 3 NCAA tournaments himself. So when you hear all these other people that haven't done it, like us, talk about what's different and how to prepare and what you need, just take us through kind of what you watch in teams, either late in the season or in an early round game as it pertains to the tournament, because you've done it, you've lived it. Like, what needs to show up to make a run? You know, what needs to show up for a team to be really dangerous in this setting?
Cole, it sounds so wallflower-ish, maybe a little wonky, but you got to like each other. Like, your locker room has to be a connected locker room. It's a long season. You guys know football season's a long season. Basketball, I think, is rare in the fact that you miss almost every holiday, major holiday, on the schedule, and you guys are around each other a lot. And when you get to March, if guys are thinking, well, I'm about to enter the portal, or I'm off to the league, or, man, I can't stand this guy, never makes the extra pass, it shows itself right about now. Like, the teams that are truly enjoying being around each other are making the extra pass, or diving on that 50-50, or setting a little bit more of a physical screen to open up a guy to come off a curl or off a pin down and get a look. Like, those things do matter. And so when I'm in these shoot-arounds, when I'm talking to these coaches, I'm looking at body language, because that's what matters. Everybody in this tournament, everybody, High Point in here as a 13 seed, can go knock off Purdue. Like, everybody's in here has earned it. So anybody can be beat. And if you don't have that attention to detail, that sense of urgency that is required for an elimination basketball game, you're going to find your ass sitting out at the end of this thing. That's how it happens.
I don't think there's any doubt. All right, Jordan, we appreciate the time. You have more chalk or do you have more upsets heading towards the Final Four in this tournament?
It's not necessarily an upset because they're a known team. They got a great coach and Coach Brad Brownell, but I do believe Clemson can go to the Final Four. I think there's a path for Clemson in terms of taking on a Houston team. I think they can knock off Houston. Now, they don't have Dylan Hunter, a big glue guy for them. Numbers don't pop out, but he just plays a lot of position guards, a lot of places, props them up pretty well. I think they're a dangerous team. But, guys, you'll love to hear this. I think the SEC, on the back of a historic regular season, could get 2 or 3 teams into the Final Four. And I do believe Florida is head and shoulders above everybody in this tournament. Now, they could still be knocked off, but they're a perfectly constructed team. Coach Golden's done an incredible job. You look at the run that UConn had the last 2 years, Florida could have stopped them in one of those national championship runs in the last 2 years. They're that good. Florida's got that type of personnel. Loaded front line. They've got length. They funnel the offense down into to alter block shots. Transition, there's the best team at it. They've got wings that can run the floor. And Walter Clayton is how about this? The first team All-American for the Florida Gators in program history. With all that tradition.
That's wild.
Walter Clayton is like a baby Steph Curry. They are built and constructed perfectly. I have them winning a national championship. I'd be stunned if they lose.
You have one more, G-Man?
Yeah, I do. Is there a team, though, that we're not talking enough about that you've seen? Because there's a handful of teams, and Cole and I were going through it. I mean, there's a handful of teams that I just don't know that much about, partly because of networks they're on or times that they're playing or what have you. But there's a handful of teams I feel like I'm completely unaware of, and yet, sure enough, we'll fast forward to the Elite Eight and they're playing. So is there a team that's not getting enough buzz nationally that we should be paying close attention to?
Yeah, and I could go off on my tangent of why college basketball is not in the best place, and it's because of a certain network, but I'll save my time there, and I'll talk a little bit more about 2 Big Ten teams that I think are should be on the radar a little bit more that aren't. Wisconsin is a team with John Tonje. He's a 6th-year guy. He's played a load of basketball in this new world of guys getting extra years. He could have been the Big Ten Player of the Year. That went to Braden Smith. He had a legitimate argument. Offensively, Greg Gard has evolved a ton with an assistant he's brought on with European ideals, with spacing and isolation, heavy ball screens. They've got an athletic backcourt with a guy named John Blackwell that plays off the ball. This Wisconsin team could go to a Final Four. I have them pegged as far as an Elite Eight in one of them, and I'm teetering on the edge in my 11th hour, maybe putting them in the Final Four. And Dana Altman's got a great backcourt and a guy at 7 feet tall and Nate Biddle that can step out and knock down threes. Dana Altman is always sneaky good in March. People seem to talk about Tom Izzo for great reason, talk about Bill Self, talk about some of these other coaches that are polarizing in March. But this guy in Dana Altman, who built his name at Creighton, has done a masterful job at Oregon, has guards, especially Jackson Shellstad, who play in transition and can basically just beat disruptors on both sides of the ball and play at a pace that's hard to keep up with. I think Oregon can surprise a lot of people. Oregon and Wisconsin, 2 Big Ten teams, can go very far in this thing that nobody's talking about.
Jordan, great stuff, man. Thanks for the time today. We always appreciate it. Love your basketball insight. Have fun calling the tournament.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Jordan Cornette joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Played his college basketball at Notre Dame. I meant to ask him quickly. In his bio, it said he is 4 monograms with Notre Dame. Can you call him back real quick? I got to ask this question on the air. He was a 4-year letterman on the Monogram Club board in 2022. Earned 4 monograms with Notre Dame. Is that like a different? Is that a fancy way of saying you lettered 4 times? I don't know exactly what that means. But tell our listeners about Crocker Moving Services. We know what they mean.
Crocker Moving, they're a local company owned by Iraq War veteran Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. And you can trust them in your home. Whether you need your whole home back to move, your company headquarters across the country, or you just want them to come rearrange a living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website is crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
I meant to ask you, Jordan, I'm sorry, because I went back to make sure I had the years you were in the tournament correct. 4-year term on the Monogram Club board in 2022. But you earned 4 monograms with the Notre Dame basketball team. Is that like a really fancy way of saying letters?
So, no, it's just some stupid board that I'm on. I'm not on. Am I on right now?
You're on the air. Yeah, no.
It's some board to try and make you sound bigger than you are. But yeah, it's a board I serve on with the athletics at Notre Dame.
Well,
So
what were the 4 monograms that you earned with the basketball team?
I earned 4 letters with playing basketball. I've earned a 4th year on a board that I serve supporting athletics.
Okay.
It makes me sound more important than
your bio says you earned 4 monograms with the basketball team. That's a fancy way of saying letters, 4 letters.
Yeah, you know how we roll at Notre Dame.
You guys are so fancy. It's so fancy. Goodness gracious.
Gotta love it.
Come on, it's Notre Dame.
It
guys.
It is. I get it. We got to start coming up with more terms now that for like Notre Dame toss sweeps going to have to be called something totally different. We got to come up with a fancy word for it.
You know what I do appreciate? I appreciate that I got a call back for clarity on this because you guys wouldn't have been able to move through your day without knowing.
I would have stuck. I was stuck.
Hey, listen, monogram board. I'm like, is Jordan Cornette monogramming in college? I got to know. Like, I got to know.
That'd be great.
Got to call my wife and let her know.
Good side hustle.
She'd be like, the hell you aren't monogramming our kids' clothes for then? Like, what's going on? Jordan, thank you very much, man. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, have a great one.
There you go. Jordan Cornette joining us again on the Higginbotham Hotline. We'll talk more NCAA tournament next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We got Aaron Torres coming up in just a couple of moments. Continue talking NCAA tournament, college basketball, your thoughts on the tournament, who you like, who you don't like, and kind of what we think might take place. Anything? Have you changed your mind already this morning on a certain team, G-Mac?
No. If anything, I just feel more convicted in my original picks. This happens every year. I go haywire on Sunday night, Monday morning, pick it, then come back, I don't know, 3-4 days later, reevaluate, and like cooler heads prevail. So I think have locked in the picks, feel good about where I'm at. Not sure I feel any better today than I did on Monday making some of these picks, but I feel like I took a few less chances today.
Sure. It's this is going to happen throughout the morning when we talk about these teams. We go look at these teams. We're going to find different things that we like about them, things that we don't like about them. We got different people tweeting in different things about teams that they like, that they don't like. Stephen Diller tweets in, High Point could be dangerous. I have not heard a lot of people on that upset. There are certain upsets that you hear a lot of people on every year. High Point, not one of them.
But to be fair, there's always one you never think of.
NNH tweets in 15-seed upset this year. Wofford over Tennessee first round, calling it now.
No.
Down?
No.
Why?
No.
Why are you so down?
I've actually watched Wofford a couple of times this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're big, shoots free throws underhanded.
What more you need?
I can't remember his name.
Filipowski.
No, we know Filipowski played at Duke a couple of years ago. They are they're a solid team. They're by no means a great team. There's not a lot of wow factor with them. I just don't think if I'm going to pick an upset, you better give me a guy like if you wanted to go with the Wofford team with what was his name that shot all the threes a couple of years ago, I'd be like, yeah.
No, they were dangerous a couple of years ago. I think they were like a 12 seed though, weren't they? They were up there.
They were more than a 15, I believe.
Yeah, they were good.
They're not a team that I would look at right now and say I think they're going to be able to pull that off.
Not there. Huh?
No, probably not. No, I don't think so. Kyler Filewich, 6'9" senior, under him.
It's
So,
a tough look.
Well, no, it's a tough look when you do it and you shoot 31% from the free throw line.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So, Corey Tripp averages 14.3 a game. They're not a team that I think has a lot of wow. So no, I'm going to go no.
I'm having a harder time though, and I feel like for a couple years there when the portal was rolling, there were a couple years where I felt really good about mid-major teams like Wofford, maybe not as a 15 seed, but there were a handful that I felt great about. And now that I've fast forward a little bit and the portal is kind of allow its impact to be held, I don't know why we should feel better about chalk. Like, I feel like the portal years has led to a little bit more chaos with the super high seeded teams, the St. Pete's of the world. Am I like misremembering? I just don't know.
Yeah, I think it's gone a little bit of both ways. I don't think it's just been stuck in one spot. So
right,
it's all that factors in when filling out your bracket. And John, people have a chance to win money filling theirs out here.
You absolutely do. There's about 2.5 hours left for you to enter for your chance to win $1 million because the $1 million bracket challenge is back. It's this simple. Pick a perfect bracket, you win $1 million. You pick 60 or more games correctly, win $10,000 plus one local winner with the best bracket will score a $250 gift card to Twin Peaks. For more information and to make those picks, go to jocksfm.com and click on the $1 million bracket tab. Good luck. I'm Jocks 94.5.
All right, so we will talk more NCAA tournament with Aaron Torres next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, Thursday, March 20th. Tournament time. Kind of.
I think it's tournament time, and we're 2.5 hours out. That's within.
We had the first 4 the last 2 days.
See, I don't count those. Those are a warm up. Those are an appetizer. Today's
those teams are in the tournament.
They are. I don't disagree. And I think if we were to take it to the court of law, they would rule in your favor by saying it tournament is underway. But for me, the tournament starts at 11. I'm sorry. Okay. No disrespect to the first 4. None.
All right. Well, let's ask an official basketball nerd, Aaron Torres, who joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline. When does the NCAA tournament begin for you?
Oh man, you're already backing me into a corner. I got to pick sides. Oh my goodness, it's like dinner table. Is mom right? Is dad right? Oh my goodness. What I would say is I would actually side with Greg a little bit. Yes, the tournament has technically started. But let's be honest, it's like when a loose acquaintance invites you over to like a dinner thing and, be here at 7. And it's like, well, if I get there at like 7:25, I can be out by like 8:20, So basically that's how I view the first 4 is I'm going to show up. I don't know that I'm going to show up on time. I don't know that I'm going to be like crazy engaged when I'm chatting with everybody around the punch bowl. To me, the tournament has started, but, today's the day, pen and paper, checking off the bracket, wall to wall, as you guys said, about 12 hours of basketball. So tournament has technically started, but today's the day that I'm most excited about, and I'm sure obviously most people listening are as well.
Is there a game today that stands out above the rest? For me, it's probably Kansas, Arkansas. I'm not sure that there's a lot of people that are going to push back on that, but is there another game that perhaps is you think absolute must watch?
I don't know. First of all, I would say Arkansas, Kansas to me is definitely, watchability number 1. And I think it'll be interesting, the narratives that, that come out of it, right? Like everybody has just anointed Calipari doesn't know what he's doing. I thought he actually did a pretty good job the back half of this season. And by the way, you somehow survived this little pod. You beat Rick Pitino. There's a lot of people that are going to be like, Cal was great all the time. And try to change the narrative. The other one, that I'm kind of intrigued by, and I'll tell you, I'm not just saying it because I'm on with you, Cole. I was on air when the bracket came out. I think it is preposterous that Auburn could potentially have to play Louisville in Lexington. For people who haven't made that drive, that's about a 40-minute drive for them. Auburn's going to be the road team on Saturday if the bracket breaks that way. And I think in some ways, you're looking at a potential rematch with Texas A&M in the Sweet 16, on and on. This could be, in theory, I think it could actually be maybe the toughest game that Auburn has in a draw to potentially get to San Antonio. So Louisville-Creighton's the first game of the day, literally at 12:15 Eastern. And that's definitely one I have my eye on because I think Louisville matches up well with Creighton. And I think especially in what is basically going to be a home court advantage, could give Auburn some problems on Saturday.
I have a weird theory, and this was earlier in the week when Greg was out, so he hasn't even heard this, that folks in Lexington knew those tickets were coming available. And even though their team's not playing, you know how crazy Kentucky fans are. I don't think they want Louisville fans taking over Rupp Arena. And I could see a bunch of Kentucky fans going to that game, not necessarily rooting for anybody, but just basically saying, we ain't letting Louisville fans in here. That's just not going to happen. We'll see what it looks like if that takes place. But
can I jump in on that really quick?
Yeah.
And I don't mean to, again, divide, but I know you were there, Cole. I think if this was any other season, I think you're 1,000% right. I think there's a lot of Kentucky fans that would go and actually root against their rival, even though they're the lower-seeded team. I will say, and I'm not being sarcastic, you were there, the Auburn team celebrating the SEC title on the Rupp Arena floor. Now, listen, I had no fundamental problem with it. You won the freaking toughest conference maybe ever. Celebrate. But I think there were some Kentucky fans that kind of took that the wrong way. You come into our house and you disrespect us and this and that and the other thing, that I think they are less inclined to celebrate the Auburn Tigers for that reason.
Fair enough. Makes perfect sense. How would you assess the 1 seed's path to the Final Four? I feel like Auburn's got a pretty tough path for sure. I think Houston's is next to impossible. I like the path for Duke and I like the path for Florida, but for the most part, man, I think Auburn's going to have their hands full, and I think that Houston's going to have their hands full. If those are the two teams that you're looking at in their pathway, how confident are you that they can make a run?
Yeah, Auburn, like I said, I think having to play Louisville in Lexington is kind of wonky. The rematch potentially with A&M in the round of 32 or Sweet 16, I wouldn't worry as much about. I know they lost at A&M, but the circumstances in that game were weird. Auburn, of course, had just clinched an SEC regular season title, as we just discussed. I think, Florida's got a little bit of a weird one because, listen, I'm a UConn guy. I went to UConn, graduated UConn. I don't think they have it this year, but I don't think Todd Golden's happy about having to play the two-time defending champs potentially in round of 32. And then, you get to a West Regional, Patino could be there. Patino has like the whole sport shook right now. Like nobody can figure this guy out. Comes back in 2 years, takes a dead program and completely flips him. So, it's not even a matchup thing with Florida. I just think it's a mystique thing, if you will, with those potential matchups. Houston, I'll say this. I think the Houston-Tennessee Elite Eight game is kind of interesting. Very similar teams, and I think, and we saw it, when they played at Auburn, when they played Alabama, they like getting into, the way that Houston plays is the way that Tennessee wants to play. And I just think it would be an interesting matchup because both of those teams really – there's not very many teams where you go into a game and say, oh, they can kind of match them in the physicality and toughness category. I think you can maybe argue they're the top two. So I just think all four number one seeds have very interesting games, and I know I'm just kind of bouncing around, but even with Duke, Alabama, there's very few teams that would have the size and athleticism to match up with Duke. So I would say the toughest draw, if you will, maybe to me is Florida. But I think that there's just some intriguing matchups as far as teams that a Duke, a Florida, et cetera, are hoping get knocked out before they could hypothetically have to play them.
Absolutely. Aaron Torres of Fox Sports joining us on the Higginbotham hotline talking NCAA tournament. I want to toss just a couple at you that we feel like we don't know a ton about.
Sure.
We had a listener say Liberty is his upset pick this week or this tournament, and we don't know a lot about Oregon. So just kind of more so the Oregon conversation, but could you see Liberty coming out there, and what do you think about the Oregon Ducks potentially moving on?
Yeah, Oregon or Liberty shoots the crap out of the ball, so I think that's the variable there. Whenever you can shoot as well as they do, I think they shoot like 39% as a team, and they take a lot. So it's not like they're shooting one or two a game. With Oregon, it's the weird deal, guys. It is, and I think we saw it more in basketball than football. The west to east stuff, like the Big Ten teams just did not travel well west to east, and Oregon was really good in November. They beat. I think they beat Alabama. I could be mistaken. It's all running together at this point. But they were really good in November. Then they kind of get into Big Ten play. I think the travel wore on them. They played well late. But I actually do kind of like that as an upset pick, too, because, Oregon's one of these teams, they kind of go into the portal every year. They don't really have a plan. Let's just spend some money and get some players. And it's like, I think that translates to the season where I know on paper they listen, they have had a good season, but I just think that I just don't like every game. It's sometimes they shoot well, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they crash the boards well, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they get good guard play, sometimes they don't. And so, very astute. Listen, I'd say it's a very astute point by your caller, and then Oregon's going to win by 40. And I'm going to look like an idiot, but yeah, no, I think that is a spot that I could definitely see some upset potential.
What about the kind of the high seeded 15, 14, 16, 16, let's not get carried away, but you look at kind of how the portals change things and you look at teams that are kind of mercenaries, like you just referenced, that don't really have a plan from time to time, super talented, but maybe it just doesn't mesh well together, going against these teams that have played a ton of basketball, like a Drake, a ton of basketball where they're very, very experienced, they're skilled, and they've been around each other for quite a while. How do you kind of balance the power between the two, this, kind of this era of college basketball?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you guys cover the SEC every day, so I think we're seeing the best of what the portal world can be with a Florida, frankly, with an Auburn. You know, I mean, Janai Broome starts at Morehead State. You know, you have a bunch of guys that start other places and not only just come for 1 year, but come for 2-3 years, develop within the program. Janai Broome was good when he got to Auburn. He's a different player now than he was 2 or 3 years ago. And so with it, you know, I'll say this is that, and again, you know, always subject to change. Something funny could happen like it always does in this tournament. But, there are some pretty – I'm not a huge, like, advanced analytics, you know, overanalyze everything guy. But there are some pretty compelling stats that, like, the 1 and 2 seeds kind of in this portal world are kind of just better than they were 6, 7, 8 years ago because, again, you can backfill where if you need one spot or, you know, NIL can keep a team together, keep a Janai Broome, keep a Grant Nelson in college basketball. And so I'll just be real is I don't really see a ton of, like, you know, 15s just knocking off 2s because I just think the talent level on that 1-2 line, again, as we saw in the SEC all year, I just think is really, really, really good. You know, once you get to the 4, 5, 6s, you know, that's where I do think we'll see some upsets. You referenced specifically, Greg, the Drake Bulldogs. And listen, I'm always hesitant to be the guy that before the tournament starts, hey, this team's going to go this far. It's like you got to see a bracket before you get too excited. But I do kind of like that matchup with Missouri because, and again, you guys have watched Missouri in the SEC all year. They want to play fast. They want to turn you over. Well, Drake plays super slow. They take care of the basketball. They're, you know, it's kind of what I was just saying about like an Auburn. They're going to drag you into their game. They're going to drag you into the mud. And I think Drake, I think that has big upset potential. You know, I know it's not the sexiest, you know, 215 game, but I like Drake over Missouri. And then I'll say, you know, the Will Wade stuff, I think people are overblowing it. Oh, you know, a report came out that he's accepted another job. One, I know Will Wade, he's having these conversations with his players all year. And by the way, he's telling his players, oh, you got this offer in the portal, you know, bust your butt for me until the last game of the season. I'm going to help you get wherever you need to go. And so I think that story's a little bit overblown. I think there is a little bit of a chip on the shoulder for Will Wade playing his alma mater. I think there's an upset potential there. I think that's a pretty early game today as well. So those are kind of two. Again, I know it's not sexy, 215, 314, but those are two lower-seeded teams that I could see pulling off the upset potentially.
Aaron, what are your thoughts on the bottom of the South? Because now it looks like North Carolina could be poised to make a run. We don't know a lot about Marquette, honestly. Michigan State feels like a team built for the tournament. If Auburn were to survive through the first weekend and potentially another win after that, and they're going to see one of those teams down there, Iowa State included in that grouping. What do you make of that sort of group of teams?
Yeah, listen, again, the tournament is so much about matchups, and again, it's why I'm hesitant. Oh, Auburn's lost 3 of 4. You know, what do you think of it? Well, let me see what the bracket looks like, you know. And so I bring it up because, you know, I just like the potential matchups that Auburn could have if they get to Atlanta. Besides the fact that obviously you guys know the geography better, but I know it'd be a home court advantage for them. Again, I just go to if you're playing Texas A&M, you know Texas A&M. You know you lost to Texas A&M. You know you're better than Texas A&M, and you know that you didn't play your best game. So you have that variable. You have Michigan State. You know, listen, I said this the other day, and it sounds like sort of an insult, and maybe it is. I think Michigan State is just Auburn with less talent. Like, I think they just are a less talented version of Auburn. And so I would like that matchup. Again, if Auburn had a different 2 seed or a different 3 seed in their draw, I might feel differently, but I like that matchup. And then Marquette, New Mexico, I just don't think that they would have the size to match up with Auburn. I mean, you know, and guys, like I think sometimes, you know, some of the SEC narratives are overblown. But I do listen, guys. If you watch those 2 semifinals last Saturday, and then you flipped on whatever other tournament was going on, like it really just is a different sport. Like I hate to say it, and I'm not trying to do it because I'm on in Birmingham, SEC, da-da-da-da. But it's like, you know, Jimmy Dykes says this all the time on the broadcast. It's the second most athletic basketball league in the world behind, obviously, the NBA. And I just think there's something to, you know, a lot of these teams I think are going to have a benefit once they get to the tournament. I'd add this too really quick. I know refereeing has been a big talking point, and I've seen a lot of fans say, like, oh, the SEC teams are going to struggle with refereeing in the tournament. I think it's the opposite. I think in the tournament, all these guys and girls that are refereeing, they want to advance. They don't want to be the story. For people who don't know, you're graded every round based on how you do, and the way you advance is by not making yourself a story. So those SEC games that turn into football games that had, 68 foul shots, like, I just don't think we're going to see that in the tournament. Seriously. And so I think that's a benefit to a Tennessee and Auburn. I actually really, I don't want to put a jinx out there, but I really like Auburn's draw, again, with the caveat that Louisville, first of all, Louisville's they're a tough group of guys, and they're obviously going to have that home court advantage, assuming, like you said, Cole, that the Kentucky fans don't flip in favor of their SEC buddies. But yeah, I actually do like the bottom half of that draw for Auburn, because I just don't see that team that is both big enough but also skilled enough to really give them problems if they were to get to Atlanta.
Yeah, it would be really interesting for sure. Finally, as you look at the Big Ten, it's long been a narrative, whether it's true or not. I think it's kind of a matter of perspective. But the Big Ten is underwhelming in their performances in the NCAA tournament. I don't know if that's still the case, but that has long been a sticking point for many people when filling out their bracket. How should we value the Big Ten this year's tournament? And do you think overall the narrative is accurate that those teams have underwhelmed for quite some time?
Well, I mean, listen, if I can toot my alma mater's horn, Big Ten's got 0 championships since 2000. UConn's got 4. Right. 5. Excuse me, 5. I'm sorry, I lost count. I'm running out of fingers here. So like, no, I think the narrative is true. And listen, it's simple. And it's, I think there's been, I think the narrative has been kind of similar with football up until maybe the last 2 or 3 years as well. It comes down to recruiting. They just don't have pros. Like, they really don't. I think, some of that is starting to change. I think, Michigan with their new coaching staff, I think is going to recruit a different kind of player and frankly play a different style of play. I think Indiana with the same, but I think the narrative is totally fair. Now, I think to Cole's point earlier, Michigan State is a team that's kind of withstood the test of time. They're always ready come March, but, UCLA, I think in theory should be good, but they're flying west to east. Mick Cronin hasn't stopped complaining about the travel since freaking, November. But, like a Purdue, like they don't overwhelm you. They're good. They don't overwhelm you. Illinois has been up and down all year. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Wisconsin's kind of the same thing. It's just like, so I think the narrative has been fair. And, I'm only going off my bracket, but I think there is a conversation that we might continue to be having, because let me put it this way, even if they kind of overachieve in the early rounds or meet kind of the seed lines in the early rounds, I just don't see that team that's going to be in Houston playing with, or in San Antonio playing with a Houston, with an Auburn, beating a Tennessee, and then an Auburn, beating a Tennessee, and then a Florida, and cutting down the nets. So I think the narrative has been fair, and again, maybe the seed lines hold early, but I don't really see that team emerging late and kind of winning it all in San Antonio.
Aaron, great stuff, man. Thanks for joining us. We love the insight. Always great having you on. Look forward to doing it again soon.
All right, sounds good, fellas. I'll pencil you in for the first day of the tournament next year as well. So,
got it. Now we're talking.
We got Final Four. We've got Elite 8, okay. Sweet 16, things to potentially talk about. So keep the phone on.
Okay. By the way, I think one of your 2 alma maters at least will be there. So hopefully keep me in mind if you need me, and I always appreciate you guys. Okay?
There you go. We will. Aaron Torres of Fox Sports joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline talking NCAA tournament. More to talk about that, more to discuss about it. The coach, Wimp Sanderson, with us at 9. We will talk NCAA tournament with him. You have to wait for that, though, Greg. One thing you never have to wait for, your dental care.
That's because Family Dental has you taken care of. They're the urgent care office where you can be seen the same day. They are in 5 locations to make it easy on you in Hoover, Fultondale, Homewood, Alabaster, and now open in Trussville. So really appreciate how convenient they make it to go and get your teeth taken care of. Call them today at 874-9605. That's Family Care Dental, 874-9605.
All right, we will take a break, come back, talk a couple more bracket details, and then college football after Wimp Sanderson at 9 a.m. on Mac and Cube in the morning. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Let's give you a bracket breakdown made possible by our friends at Andrews Sports Medicine. So we heard from Aaron Torres and a couple of things that he likes about his bracket that he thinks will happen. We said a little bit earlier in the show we would take a team that we think is going to make a little bit of a run that some people maybe do not believe in. Greg, who would that team be for you?
And honestly, I feel like it's a little bit of a matter of perspective because I think that this was very much under the radar and has become extremely trendy. But I think that Wisconsin is one of those teams that can make a run, but they're a 3 seed. And I think that people look at them and
but
say,
there is a lack of buzz about them.
No one talking about them. Like I remember watching them. I've watched them a couple times this year, not a ton, not a ridiculous amount, but enough to know that's a really good team. Now, would that qualify though as a 3 seed that isn't? I don't know how under the radar they are.
Well,
as a 3 seed, are you really rolling the dice?
Not from the seeding perspective, no, but I do think from legitimate buzz, there's almost zero.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a little bit of credit on that. John, you have a lower seed or a team nobody's talking about you think goes on a run. How far do you have Wisconsin, by the way? Losing to Alabama.
Losing to Alabama.
Alabama in the Elite Eight.
I do think it's going to be tough. I mean, granted, that's as far as their thing would take them. But if I wasn't an Alabama homer, I'd probably have them going on. I think Wisconsin's legit.
All right, John?
It's, well, Funny you mentioned Wisconsin. I have them losing to Auburn in the championship game.
Whoa.
Okay.
Hey.
But I also have a heck of a lot of chalk in my bracket, too. So I think the farthest double-digit seed I have going is Texas, and I have them losing to Tennessee.
Okay. I told you earlier in the show, mine was Drake. With Mitchell being what he can be for that Missouri offense, I think if you can negate him, you have a chance to be much better against that team than you would some other squads. And Drake has the best defense in college basketball. 16-1 in games away from home this season. That's the best mark in Division I. They've won 11 straight away from home. They also, keep in mind, for a Missouri team that wants to try to score, they play at the slowest pace in college basketball.
Drake does.
Correct. 60 possessions per 40 minutes.
It's like playing a triple option team.
Essentially, yeah. I don't think it's to the extent that Virginia was, when they had it going under Tony Bennett, but it's slow. They do have the ability to push when they need to or want to. Bennett Sturts, we talked to their head coach about him earlier this week, transferred in with him, Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year, 19 points a game, 2.2 steals per game. But this is also an interesting number.
Yeah.
They have the two leaders in college basketball in minutes per game. Bennett Sturts leads the nation at 39.2 minutes per game, and Mitch Mascati is second at 38.3. I'm going to be honest with you.
Why'd you say it like that?
Because it's spelled Mascari.
Mascati.
I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. It's impressive. I don't know if it's good or bad.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, are they worn out or are they just not going to get worn out? Like, it's a total coin flip, which is what most of this tournament is. I got Drake losing to Florida in the Elite Eight. So
I think the other team that, and maybe we're just too
maybe
close.
Their coach is distracted because Greg was just badgering about taking another job.
Yeah, probably.
Well,
But
I'm sorry, but we didn't ask Will Wade about it, and he just took one. So maybe we should.
Aaron Torres doesn't matter. He's been telling him all year he's leaving.
It doesn't matter. The other one I think is Arkansas, and I feel like we've been kind of riding this for a while. It's a 10 seed. It's John Calipari, who has consistently had challenges in the NCAA tournament playing up to his seed level. But here I think with a group of guys that are really talented, but maybe it took them a while to kind of figure each other out. They struggled early in conference play and then started to play a little bit better down the stretch. I'm not saying that they're a team I trust implicitly, but I think they're a team that is flying under the radar. And while St. John's wants to make it a knockdown, drag out, bruiser fest, I think Arkansas can play that way. They've seen enough teams that can play that way and have played that way. So
hard for me to buy a team that scored 14 points and a half.
I understand. We keep going back to that. But if you define someone by their worst moment, then that's not entirely fair because there are a lot of good moments from Arkansas as well.
Also tweeting into the show, sorry, John, Ryan Haney. Everyone seems to have forgotten about Missouri with all the Drake love. Texas Tech has injuries. St. John's offensive efficiency could be an issue. So Ryan Haney. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Final hour of the show today. Thursday, March 20th, 9 a.m. JocksFM.com. The app is in your app store, iPhone, Android. Download that for free. Search WJOX on YouTube. You can watch us live every morning. And every Thursday, thanks to our friends at Coke and Piggly Wiggly, we're joined by the coach, Wimp Sanderson. Coach, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing okay. How are you guys?
I'm going to share a quick story with you because I think you'll enjoy this.
Here we go.
My 9-year-old daughter and I have about a 3-week ongoing game of war before she goes to bed at night. And we just sit there and play and we talk. And so I started playing music while we're playing also. And I usually go to Sinatra because it's kind of easy and not, like, soothing, whatever. And I play My Way a lot too. And the first 4 or 5 nights that I did it, she would just laugh and say, "Who is this? What is he talking about?" And 2 nights ago, we're playing cards and I got Sinatra going. I believe it was actually My Way was the song. And I look up and I hear her kind of going, like she's humming along with it. And I was like, there you go. See, it's catchy, wasn't it? And she was like, yeah, I kind of like it now. So,
yeah, that's great. It's great that you're doing that with one of your youngsters. That's terrific. Glad to hear that.
Well, I got my 7-year-old in the driveway trying to go elbow up on free throws, and the backboard's your friend, but he doesn't listen to me. So I'm not working as well.
Yeah, both of you need to don't try to help your kids, your males, shoot much.
All right, Coach, it's tournament time. Tell us, like, what comes to your mind when you think NCAA tournament?
Well, it's always great fun for guys who've coached basketball all his life, and I think it's always a thing of people don't understand one and done. People get mad at their teams very, very quickly because they didn't win. They are better than that. The coaching's terrible. Why did the coaches do this? Why did they do that? And so it's always people are disgusted because they think their team should go further. But it's always good. It's a lot of fun. It's hard to pick teams and so forth, and it's I think Auburn got a tough draw. I think Alabama got a better one than Auburn. I think Alabama and Tennessee's 2s were better than Florida and Auburn's 1s. I think I don't know if it'll be Louisville for Auburn in the second game or not, but Louisville probably should have been about a 5 rather than an 8, and seeding wise, and so it's going to be interesting to see how they do. And Alabama's got I think a good chance to get to 16, no doubt about that. So you don't ever know. You got to be ready to play. You can't let your kids read the name of the other team and think because they're seated some particular place that it's going to be an easy game, because every team is good enough to beat you if you don't play. And it's I am on mental preparation. I think mentally and physically it's like 3-1, so it'll be big.
Coach, when you look at just kind of the preparation for the tournament, the one and done nature of the tournament, you obviously coached in it many times. What makes it so difficult on the players to go out and play at a crazy high level? What is the most challenging thing from a coaching standpoint going into something like this?
Well, I think having their mind where they're sitting there most of the time. Everybody's excited about being in there. There are times that are teams that are, I don't know how we got in there. I mean, I was supposed to go to Florida with my girlfriend, that kind of stuff. But I think just being mentally ready to play, not worrying about who you're going to play, but being prepared to play the team that you're supposed to play. You sit there and look at the particular team that you're playing as a 12 seed, and you think, there'll be nothing to that. And lo and behold, 12 is beating a 5 a lot of times in the NCAA tournament. So I think the mental preparation, and you prepare very hard for that game. You have 2 other coaches on your staff, and they're preparing with the other 2 teams. After you're through preparing for the game that you're going to play, the other two people on your staff are getting ready with not knowing who's going to win the games that you're going to play against after you win this game. Both of them are breaking down and looking at film on the one of the 2 teams that you're going to play as the second round, and you got to be ready to play, and you got to play hard, and you got to defend. I think the biggest factor is that in this day and time, you didn't shoot the three as much when I was coaching as you do it. You got to be willing to really defend the three and work at it. And in order to defend the three, you have to be darn sure that you're good defending the dribbler. If you defend the dribbler, if you can defend the dribbler, you'll cut down on the good makes that the threes are made. So I think defense is big. You pretty much know what you've got offensively. Your shooters shoot and your passers pass. That's the way I did it. Now, they don't do it that way, and boy, everybody shoots. My deal, the shooter shot, the passers passed. But I didn't tell them that.
Coach, I would never try to say something to the effect of defense doesn't matter or, defense isn't that important. But why is defense, certain defenses that teams will play in this tournament, so much more problematic? And if you do play a different style, let's say like a Tennessee, like a Houston, and it's something you don't see very often, why is it so problematic for a lot of teams in this setting?
Well, I don't think they've seen the pressure throughout the year that Houston will give them. Houston will give them pressure. They'll really defend the next receiver. Be hard to get the basketball where you want to get it in the positions that you want to get it in. The one thing is a little bit different now is nobody plays zone. Used to be people have a great zones. Ray Mears Tennessee had great zones. I personally think that there are places, if you teach it, for you to play some zone. But you have to teach the zone. You have to teach the coverage, and you have to understand that you can cover the three-point shooter with a zone, provided that you know your coverages and you're quick enough to do so. So I think it's a little bit different now. You won't see a lot of zone defenses, so you don't worry about that near as much. I'm not sure that you see as much pressing as you saw when I was coaching. You had to get ready for the pressure and the presses, which was a little bit different. I don't know that people press quite as much. Alabama and Kentucky are very good offensively. Alabama has been a little bit down defensively, but in their particular case, they're so darn good shooting a three, taking the basketball on the dribble inside the defense and throwing the lob pass and those kinds of things that they hurt you from every position. So I think their offense has kind of overcome what deficiencies they have in defense. And so if you have that, then you're okay. But if you're just mediocre in both, you're gonna get your fanny beat.
Coach, what do you think are the biggest keys for Auburn to kind of reverse the course? You already talked a little bit about defending the perimeter, all those things. I get that. But when you lose 3 games out of 4 or whatnot, or 3 games in a row to finish things up, how does that affect your team's confidence level going into a one-and-done situation?
You try to make it fun for them again. You try to pat them on the back rather than jump on them unless somebody loafed on you. But if they played hard and lost, you get them to understand that's basketball. We're not going to do it again. We played like that the other day, and we're not going to do that again. We've got the ability to do what we're able to do. We've shown that throughout the year. To think that you are a number 1 seed over all the teams, and you're going to have to play Louisville a second cotton picking game, or Creighton either one, is pretty tough. I think, and I could be wrong. They may blow them completely out. Auburn's 32-point favorite in the first game, but I think that's a pretty tough deal there. So, but you have to get them to enjoy where they are, what they're doing. Not many people get to play in the NCAA tournament. You got to go back to the positive and forget the negative. I do think there are times that when you get in the huddle with your team. And I watch some teams, and that people won't like this. You can almost be too positive. When I got in the huddle with my team, I think Greg kind of knows me. He knows I am a little bit. You get in the huddle with your team, and you're not playing the way you need to be playing. I don't say shake it off. I put your little fanny over on the bench, get somebody who wants to play. So I think you're positive with them. You know their matchups. You know how you need to, you know your substitution pattern, who needs to substitute for who, and I think those are important things. I think all the things I've told you is what we tried to do. We did fairly well, not as good as we wanted to, but We're disappointed at times, and we got the teams where I thought we had tough draws. You will get. I want to say this in the right way, because a lot of officials are my friends. You can get into back when I was coaching, Alabama wasn't looked at. We had very, very good teams. The coach before me was very good. But we wasn't. If you said Alabama's a basketball school, you wouldn't say that. But if you played somebody that's a blue blood, a really great team, I am convinced that the officials didn't really want to be officiating a game where the blue blood lost. I believe that North Carolina beat me in a double screwing, not a single. It was awful. So anyway. I think that because, you go back and look at, Alabama's football. That's all they do care about is football. Coach Bryant's there, and, he don't want them to have a team and all that kind of bull crap. And I always thought, we don't have the media. We didn't have the media back then that we have today. So that's a little bit different. But,
we talk about a lot, Coach. How are these games officiated? How are they going to be called?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a normal part of the conversation.
It's real.
Yeah,
they're going to be up. It's going to be a knockdown, drag out in some of these games, just according to the personality of according to that league. Some leagues call it, do it more than others, and as far as toughness is concerned. But officials pretty much know the coaches when they get in the dressing room. We had a coach's box. I used to laugh. They used to tell me I was so with. I would get on the edge of the box. I wouldn't get out of the box, but I'd get on the edge, and they would tell me they would go to the other end of the court, and I said, "Catch Wimp now. If he gets out of that box, let's nail him." He gets right to the edge. If his feet are on that line, nail him. And so I used to get a kick out of that after everything was over. So they kind of know they know the coaches, but they officiate. Officiating is a lot. They are letting them play. Block charge is a little bit different there. You don't see as many charging fouls as you used to, so those kind of things happen.
Coach, I thought about you last night, and I was watching Texas and Xavier, and the half of the last half of the second half just felt like a continuous tidal wave of momentum for Xavier. And even when Texas kind of tried to punch back, the punches never hit hard enough. Xavier just kept coming. Why do coaches wait so long to call timeouts? I mean, it's not just that game, but I feel like so many games here down the stretch, the back end of the season, it's like,
especially
put a stop
now.
to this. Like, slow this down. And it's like, because you've talked to us about those waves of momentum, how you can feel them. You're getting hit with it right then. And I just don't know why these guys wait so long.
I don't know. Dean Smith, who was a great coach, he used to wait a long time before he'd call a timeout. He thought that it meant weakness on the part of North Carolina. He thought if he showed that kind of weakness, the weakness was they getting their fannies beat. We beat them pretty good at our place one time, and he took forever to call timeout. I see your point, and I don't know the answer to it. I tried to let it ride a little bit, but not as long as a lot of these coaches let it ride. If my guys are not playing the way they need to be playing, I may not stop play, but I may substitute a player or two in order to get somebody playing the way I think they need to play. So I don't know, but I think both of you are correct, and I don't really have the answer as to why they shouldn't call timeout a little bit more. A lot of them feel like it's weakness if they do. They're gonna come on and get it back. Let's don't be stopping play while we're playing real bad. Let's come back and play a little bit better, and then and see what happens. That kind of thing. They all got the ideas. They all got the ideas from the people that they played under, the people that they've been. If they're head coaches for the first or second time ever, people they worked with, and they have their own ideas. So it's basketball is an interesting game. People just do not understand how their team could get beat in the first or second round, because it's a one and done, and for whatever reason, the other team is as good as you are, or they wouldn't be there. The guy you lined up against as an offensive lineman is as good as you were, or he wouldn't be there. And that's what I would tell my guys. And the first thing I would tell my guys, guess what? The championship game is not Sunday afternoon. The championship game is tonight. It's tonight. And I would tell that in the SEC tournament every time. The night is a championship game. We're all talking about Sunday afternoon, the SEC tournament. We're talking about the finals of the NCAA, but it is tonight. If we don't play tonight, there is no tomorrow. And that's what it is.
Coach, what about your favorite tournament experience? What would you say was the best experience you had in this format?
I don't know. I guess in the SEC tournament was beating Kentucky at Kentucky in the finals of the SEC tournament.
No, what about NCAA tournament, Coach?
Not even a game though. Just anything that kind of came with
just a year, anything. Maybe someone you met or something you did.
I'll tell you what. The one I lost.
Which one, Coach?
I went to California and I beat Arizona. I beat Colorado State, and now I'm going to Phoenix or Albuquerque or somewhere and play, and have to play Loyola Marymount. Loyola Marymount was averaging 100 and something points a game.
Wow.
I got on. I was going to stay there a week before I played them. I got on the telephone and I called Dean Smith. I called everybody. I did all I could do, and I decided, and a guy out there was named Bob Boyd who was out there. He was coached USC. He's a good friend. He's very good. He used to beat UCLA all the time. He used to coach at Mississippi State. I looked at it. I talked with our kids, and I said, they're averaging 100. So I said, I had a good team, so I made a mistake. But they thought I coached well, and I lost. I decided that we would not hold the ball, but we would take our time shooting every time we made a trip. And so on every offensive possession we had, I got down 9-6. I could hear the people behind me booing me. When they came out there from Alabama, they were saying that we should have never hired him. So we kept on and kept on and kept on, and we hung right in there. And we played great. We missed a couple of shots down the stretch. I thought the other coach was going to get a technical at the halftime, but he didn't. Doggone it! And we took that thing down, and it was it's been probably one of the great games for a loss in the history of Alabama basketball for the people and there are a lot of people listening to this, I guess. We got beat 62-60. Did I make a mistake? Yep, I did. Made a mistake, got beat. Did I get a lot of credit for doing what I did? Yep, shouldn't have. Shouldn't have gotten any credit. I thought that was the best way to play. And I hadn't gotten over it yet. I think about it every day. And I do. I really think about it every cotton picking day. And it's just one of those things where we could have gone on. We would have had to play UNLV the next game. We might have gotten beat. And of course, Jared Tarkanian was the coach, and he came out and said, "Crap, Alabama should have played them. They had personnel was as good as Loyola Marymount's personnel." And of course, that didn't help any, and it probably was, and I probably made a mistake. But I won't ever forget that game. Not ever. I'm sure there's some others, and I can't think of what else to tell you. But that was a big game.
That's cool stuff, Coach. We appreciate the time, and obviously you join us each and every week. Thanks to our friends at Coke and Piggly Wiggly. Coke and Piggly Wiggly, the very best. Go drink Coke, and Coke will be awfully good for you. I've drank Coke all my life, not because they're a sponsor on this show. Coke's just been my product, and besides that, Piggly Wiggly is a place that you can go in and get anything that you need from meats and vegetables all the way to whatever you might need. So go by Piggly Wiggly, visit with them, buy some Coke, and tell them you heard a show on y'all's station, and I appreciate you guys having me on, and hope I said the right things. I said what I believe, so it may be wrong, but that's what I believe. Thanks. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. See ya. That's the coach, Wimp Sanderson, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR needs. We're going to move over to college football in just a moment, have some notes, some things going on that we need to get to, but I thought about this with the NCAA tournament showing up today and getting going today. What's the best sound in sports?
It's a good one. Swish. That's what got you thinking about it.
Yep.
Or a golf ball hitting the bottom of the cup.
Maybe for one or two of
Golf
you
is
out there.
sport?
Huh. Some say.
Hobby.
You give us yours, 800-239-9569. Tweet it in at Mac and Cube.
The whistle coming off the football when you throw a seed.
We'll discuss it, debate it next on Mac and Cube in the morning. What is the best sound in sports? Natural sound is kind of what I was referencing when I was with that, because my son and I were out shooting basketball yesterday. March Madness, obviously trying to, get in the basketball mood, basketball spirit.
Oh, and I heard swish so many times, I started to think myself.
I don't think you have to hear it a bunch of times. I think you hear it once and you're just kind of like, man, that's tough to beat right there. Specifically, we were not in a gym yesterday, but you get to a gym and there's not a lot of folks around. It's kind of quiet. And then you get that tune, you kind of get the echo with it. It's got to be up there. Now, you also give me, now some people will probably tell you that, especially with some of the new bats, like you get the ping off the bat in college baseball, but
no,
you give me the old, it's like when Shohei hits a home run, like it sounds a lot different.
The wood
if you
bat.
really listen to it, like a good, clean home run with a wooden bat, that's got to be up there.
I think that's mine.
It's got to be up there. And you get some guys.
Or an umpire ringing you up Does that count? That's
Well,
not a natural
they're-
sound.
No, he does. He makes, but you have so many varieties of it. Yeah,
Yeah. Ah, punch
some guys
out.
will be quick with
I'd
it.
punch him
Some
out.
guys draw it out. So, what else is up there? Golf, like hitting a driver. You said the ball hitting the
No.
bottom of the cup.
Ball hitting the cup. And when you play with like tour guys though, it does sound different. I mean,
It's
they can move it.
that sound coming off the driver specifically is just it's different.
Except unless it's a ping. And it sounds weird. Those of you that play know what I'm talking about.
I will say too, there feels like there's a specific sound when you get like a good one-on-one tackle and you it's usually kind of off to the side a little bit. And it's always better when it's towards the sideline where that somebody's holding that big microphone with the big, like clear dish around it.
Yeah.
And you just get that good, clean crack of the pads. But you don't get it often because it needs to be near that microphone and it needs to kind of be a one-on-one situation. But man, the good crack of the pad's tough to beat also. Got to be up there.
It's up there. I would say it's definitely up there. I do like the little off of football when you throw a tight spiral. It's
just
a
tough.
little whistle.
There's usually so many other people around. It's kind of hard to get it a lot of the times. Obviously, I know what you're talking about, and not something that I feel like a lot of maybe average consumers of sports hear very often. The hockey horn after a goal, the tugboat horn. It's not necessarily a natural one. It's somebody pushes play on that. What else is up there? Best sound in sports.
Honestly, the bottom of the cup and the swish are probably the two best for me.
I mean,
Crack of a hardwood bat is up there for sure. Love that. I don't know.
Zach Manning says might be the sound of a racket hitting a tennis ball on a 150-mile-an-hour ace. You get a good clean ace. It sounds good.
Those things are like that thing explodes off the racket.
JB, Tiger Roar, best sound in golf.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the roar of a crowd.
Last time we heard that.
Easy.
I just making a fair point that I feel like it's been a decade or so.
No,
the Masters,
2019,
like,
and you
1920,
we are going to put that on right now. We can watch that on YouTube right now. You're going to listen and like it.
I'm surprised you didn't say the stupid Masters piano. Do we need to go into the menu? How about that?
I might honestly,
Sure,
I might take piano lessons just so I can learn that one song.
You should.
And I'm going to bring a keyboard in here and play it every day.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, everybody's so mad.
Everybody's wetting themselves over the Masters menu dinner that they're never going to attend. Do we have to talk about that? What Scotty Scheffler's going to serve, even though he's not actually going to serve it.
I wonder what they'll decide to get. The cowboy ribeye or the redfish? Redfish is a good protein pre-tournament. Zip it. No one cares.
What are his gluten-free options?
He's got a double chocolate chip cookie for dessert.
Is that what he had?
He's such a child.
Really
It was
stepping out.
Skillet chocolate chip. So
It's tough to beat, by the way.
I mean, I'm not mad at it. I'd probably do the same thing.
So Standard got that thing going.
Oh, here we go.
This is legit.
Oh my gosh. Another freebie.
It is a cookie fix in a skillet. It's legit. Sorry.
Double freebie.
Well,
where's the ice cream
people
fun?
deserve them.
Where's the ice cream?
Probably Bluebell. I don't know. I haven't asked.
I'm sure it's some local. This is a $19
I don't
cookie.
think Barber's does ice cream anymore, do they? Give them credit.
I don't know. National Spray Tan Day today. So got that going for us. For those of you that celebrate.
We all just got dumber. Thanks for helping us with that.
Yeah. Well, I just saw it on WBRC. You can blame them.
No, I do.
Don't be mad at me.
Thanks. We need a national day for that.
Yeah. Wow.
And of all days, March?
No, this is the
Gotta look good for the tournament, John.
You
Tournament parties, you gotta look good.
And you got some spring parties coming up.
How long would it last if somebody came in here and spray painted me today? Is that like 2 days?
I think it lasts like a week.
Next shower?
I guess it depends on the coat.
The
What shade are you going for?
coat. The primer?
I mean, are they spritzing you or are they like?
I don't know, John. I've never had one.
Okay, like I have.
I didn't think you had. I'm just letting you know.
I know they exist.
It's nothing that I've ever attempted. Never seen the tape on spray paint and the rules that go along with it.
They put
but I know
bronzer-
having a day for it is maybe the dumbest thing we said on this show.
They don't blame me.
You said it.
I mean, you kind of brought
I mean,
it up.
I'm sorry.
You were
I'm
all-
watching a lady get spray tanned. And that's a verb.
Spray
Yeah.
Spray tanned.
spray tint.
Yeah. she's
She's getting tinted.
yeah.
Oh, we're stupid.
So dumb. All right, best
National
sounds.
freaking spray tan. day.
Best sounds.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
We had somebody text in and said the smack of a fastball hitting the catcher's mitt.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I like the baseball bat more.
But you get a
Get a
good,
solid-
clean catch in the glove, specifically a catcher's mitt with a guy throwing in the 90s and nobody's around. Pah. That thing echoes out too. Like you get in the stadium early, there's nobody there, and you hear that pop, and it just hits like 3 or 4 times after that. That's really good.
Or when a guy changes direction, he goes, "Yeah."
Mike from Shreveport says sneakers on a gym floor.
No, I
Worst.
get it. I understand,
Brutal.
but it's not.
Brutal.
I ain't a big fan.
Can't
You,
have it.
you don't even get that in the NBA anymore. They just play music the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even hear it.
I do like, especially from back in the day, the dodgeballs or those rubber balls bouncing on the gym floor. Not a basketball, but like
Boing,
the
boing, yeah.
Yeah.
that hollow kind of bouncing
Oh, yeah.
sound.
Oh, no.
The dodgeball, like the
Like the red rubber ball.
No, he's
Yeah.
talking like
the
today's
kickball.
kickball.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a
That
kickball at the
sound.
house, and when you dribble that thing or it hits something hard, you kick it really well. It's a very unique sound.
It
I'm
is.
with you.
Hey, somebody
You can
said,
bomb those things.
Somebody said toe the leather of a football game.
Yeah. No.
I'd
Yeah,
take the
it's
crowd.
kickers.
Yeah, I take the crowd in a football game though.
Yeah.
Then
I don't know. You hear these NFL kickers, they hit it. It sounds like a bomb's going off. And
Oh,
so
especially
it
the
is kind of
punts.
cool. Like as a holder, like, and you're up close to it, dude, those guys, they compress the ball.
I mean, football. I will say like one thing in hockey is like you hear like a guy with a skate and like he either hits the brakes or turns. You kind of hear that crack on the ice, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like football doesn't have a ton of these.
Well, like a
Not
slap,
really, no.
like a slap shot,
God,
like a slap shot in hockey. I mean,
It's good.
those suckers are
It's
loud.
good.
Those guys are moving it.
yeah, a lot of people are saying catcher's mitt, baseball mitt, making a catch. Somebody's saying like the sound of a ball thrown, like just a fastball. But I think you got to be. That's almost
You got to be up
the
there.
setting has,
Yeah.
but also the setting has to be right. You can't have that. You're not going to do that like in a World Series game where you can actually hear it.
I got one for you at a baseball game. Ice cold be a hip. We got ice cold be a hip. Yeah, ice cold Blue Mountains out of ice cold be a hip.
Never seems to be the concession guy you want that's near you, by the way.
No,
At a game.
it's like, oh my gosh,
You got
I
peanuts
really,
over there? He's like, nah, it's over there. It's
honestly,
7
yeah,
sections
no, you
over.
can get peanut. The only thing I can ever get from a concession guy walking up and down baseball game are Cracker Jacks. Literally can't get anything else. Who eats Cracker Jacks? I mean, I'll have them every once in a while. Yeah, they got Cracker Jacks. Yeah, Cracker Jacks. Yeah, Cracker Jacks.
It's in
the
the
whole
song.
thing.
It is in the song. People think they have to have it.
Yeah, well, it's literally, I mean, the guy has 400 boxes of Cracker Jacks because he hasn't sold one. In 4 sections, he hasn't sold one. I don't get it. Where's the beer? Yeah, ice cold beer.
Somebody texted in and says the War Eagle from fans at a kickoff in Jerky.
Oh, God.
There is though
Nobody
like
cares.
a lot of the like pre-kickoff things for college football stadiums. I mean, like Alabama does it, Georgia does it. I don't think that barking for adults is cool, but you know, they kind of do that after they kick off. But a lot of those things are kind of cool to like start the game, especially. And then if you would take one of those if you're at home and your team took the lead late. That moment before the next kickoff is pretty sweet. And whatever you do, whatever your thing is, like we know what they say in Bryant Daney, and we know what they do at Jordan Hare. Like it's
Jordan Hare.
yeah, War Eagle Hay. Like we know that. So
You're familiar with that one.
I'm familiar with those.
Or
Yeah.
you could argue,
Whoop it
because
to
it's
it.
cold and you said you love doing this in opponent stadium, the silence in a road stadium.
Yes, that's always
It's the
good.
best.
Yeah.
Yes. Fun.
There is nothing better than shutting up a home crowd. And I'll say this too. One thing that I think is cool, it's not a natural sound of football, but when Mississippi State goes on offense at home and there's a big play in a drive and the cowbells all come out, but then they still have the ball. So they all kind of come down like right as they start, like when they break the huddle or when they come to the line of scrimmage and like you hear all the cowbells kind of gently start to die. It's a very unique, very cool sound over there at Davis Wade. But it's that specific moment when 40-yard gain, still have the ball, fans going nuts, but they know that and then here they all come down. I don't know if you get anything similar to that anywhere else, but that's a really cool sound.
I'll give you a good one. Like the sound of a hardcore flyover that's like flirting with the legal.
That's about 3 seconds after they're gone.
Yes.
Is when you hear it.
And they go by and you're like, whoa. And then you hear it and it's like, whoa. I mean, you want to talk about. I get goosebumps on flyovers.
I get so bummed when we don't have flyovers at our games.
Really?
I always ask our producer, we got flyover? And he's like, no. And I'm like, God.
We probably only bat.
Man. It's so good.
I don't know if I have more than 5 or 6 a year. It's not a lot. I mean, how many do you have? We don't get many.
Yeah, it's not a ton, but we get them. We get them occasionally. And the helicopter flyovers, I feel like we get more than the planes now. And there's always like the big, oh God, I got a buddy that flies them. The big with the lever thing that comes out of the back of them. Somebody's going to tweet it in, CJ230, whatever they're called. And there's always a dude hanging off the back when they fly by. It's got the big door that goes down on the back of them. He's always hanging off the back when they fly by.
Like that.
I don't mind the helicopter flyover.
We have 100%.
Jets are better, but
we have 100% evolved here on Mac and Cube because I think now like my brain is going in such a different direction. Like one of my favorite sports traditions is that Chicago Blackhawks games in the playoffs, the entire crowd screams as loud as they can for as long as they can during the national anthem. And the whole building shakes. Yes.
I got to go watch this.
And it's an opera, and it's an opera singer that sings it. He does it every single. It is absolutely the most goosebumpy, awesome thing I've ever witnessed at a sporting event. Blackhawks playoffs, opera singer, national anthem. You'll see it. It is unbelievable. So that one's pretty good. I know that's
helicopters make you think of that, like Blackhawks and then the Chicago Blackhawks.
I honestly, and then the flyover. So like the flyover combined with the Blackhawk helicopter made me remember just how awesome that experience was.
Unfortunately,
Blackhawks aren't good.
Don't think we're going to get that.
No, they're
year.
not good. But it's
they are last in the West and sitting currently at 20-39.
Oh no!
Next year, I'm in for that though. I am 100% in. I've told people for a long time, the coolest thing about Talladega is not the race. The flyover is cool. The next 10 minutes when those jets run maneuvers all around the track and they'll hit the afterburner and go straight up in the air and then they come back across a couple of times. It's like I told my son when I took him, I'm like, that was cool, but wait. And then they keep flying. It's the coolest thing that I've ever seen at any sporting event.
That is,
it's unbelievable. And they do it every time.
I love that.
It's awesome.
I just sent the anthem.
Okay, we'll watch that during the break.
Chicago Blackhawks YouTube channel.
We will watch that during the break. Before we go to break, though, you probably need to know that you can win money with your bracket here with Jocks, John.
Absolutely. You've got about 90 minutes left to enter the $1 Million Bracket Challenge. It's this simple. Pick a perfect bracket, win $1 million. You pick 60 or more games correctly, win $10,000. Plus, one local winner with Best Bracket will score a $250 gift card to Twin Peaks. For more information and to make your picks, go to JocksFM.com and click on the $1 Million Bracket tab. Good luck from Jocks 94.5.
All right, so still left in the show, we're going to give you our final 4 picks. We're going to give you our national champion, but we got to get a little college football in right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Charlie Snow correcting me. CH-47 Chinook, the helicopter. Avery Mayo, the sound of Brent Musburger saying you are looking live at a big-time college football game. Or Keith Jackson saying, whoa, Nelly. Marie tweets in, the sound of the starting gates in a horse race slamming open.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a very unique sound. Sport, a bit of a stretch, but
easy.
It's horses, man. Sorry.
Well, if we're gonna do that, then the crowd chanting along 1, 2, 3 during like WrestleMania or something in the main event
can be good, yeah. Especially when you get a kick out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Or
the Eagle flying at Auburn's pretty,
or the
pretty
song
incredible.
when Vince McMahon walks out.
No chance.
No chance.
What?
What? Zach
By the way,
Hightower
I
tweets
think-
in bugle call before horse race. I thought we said sports,
That works.
but
That's pretty good.
not bad.
Roman Reigns walkout song's pretty sick.
Small cow song. I don't know if I'd put those in best sound of sports.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then the glass breaking from Stone Cold.
Guys hitting the mat though was pretty good.
Yeah.
Like back when the WWF
Mhm.
had like a little bit more bouncing and
Yeah.
go gong tonk, like that would be
The flare chop across the chest. You
Absolutely.
hear that?
Yeah, you hear that. Roman Reigns guy.
We expect he's a chingy guy.
That's like, what?
It's a sick walkout, hater.
Cody
Jolly
Rhodes.
tweets in, you've hit several. What about a hard hit in the boards in hockey? Football pop hard hit.
That's a good
Want to
one.
play would be my top with hockey hitting the boards, paralleling that. You get somebody crashing the boards, it's always pretty good.
Yes.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
It's like a high-speed collision.
Yes. Polar Bear service is also good for the people here that might not be ready for the cold weather that's coming back, Greg.
Yeah, cold weather's here today. I guarantee you your heater will be running today with weather in the 40s. And tomorrow, I think it's up back in like the 70s. It's all over the place. And you know that your system is being put to the test. Polar Bear Services has you taken care of. Wes and the guys are amazing. I've been using them forever. I know you guys will have a similar experience that I did. It's just been great. And now, too, with the pollen here, you can get duct cleaning, you can get system tune-ups, you can get installations, kind of limit the amount of dust and things like that in your home to help with the allergy season. These are the very best when it comes to the independent trained dealers. And I know that you guys will have a great experience because I've used them for years. And I know you guys will have the same type of feeling when you are going throughout the spring with some very unpredictable weather. The heat will be here soon, so get your system ready to roll. And remember, if you have a problem with your electrical, plumbing, heat, or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 205-497-BEAR. 497-BEAR.
A couple of college football notes before we go to break and come back and give you our final four picks. Byron Leftwich is going to join the staff at Colorado. So a good pickup there for Coach Prime. LSU gets a commitment from 5-star wide receiver Tristan Keys. Big-time player, big-time commit for Brian Kelly. North Carolina gets a commit from Penn State edge transfer Smith Vilbert.
Okay.
Micah Hudson away from the team there at Texas A&M, Texas Tech transfer from a high-profile recruit. And tomorrow on the show, we are going to discuss Alabama quarterback Austin Mack, who apparently is making up ground and turning some heads at Alabama spring practice. Greg will give you his thoughts on him and potentially that Alabama quarterback race moving forward. Before we go to our final break, there has been a sale in sports. You guys seen this today?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Boston Celtics have been sold for
Not one. Not two.
$6.1 billion.
Wow.
Oh, Bill Chisholm.
Oh,
Pulled the
Billy.
trigger on that one. Just 6.1 bill.
Bad investment.
If you're talking about an iconic brand in sports, though,
Right.
like honestly, how many in American sports are ahead of the Celtics?
None.
A
Maybe-
very small handful.
Maybe two.
Lakers,
three.
Cowboys,
Yankees.
Yankees. Dodgers.
That's, I mean,
Not many.
not too many more
Yeah.
that you can just easily throw out there and say, oh yeah, that's ahead of that team right there. I mean, it's up there. $6.1 billion.
They're iconic. No doubt about it. But I would also say at the same time,
We know you hate the NBA.
I don't hate the NBA. I just look at the NBA numbers and I'm underwhelmed.
It's coming back, Greg. Look at this young wave of talent coming in.
From?
Duke.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
high school.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the usual.
I'm just concerned about the NBA post Steph and LeBron.
Got it.
Cooper Flag.
That's what everybody said about MJ.
Cooper Flag. Dante DiVincenzo.
Oh, yeah, that's the one.
Oh,
That's the one.
Coach on the court.
Zach Edey.
yeah.
What's his face?
McClung.
When what's his face from Florida goes 7-9, all 7-9 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in good hands, dog.
Oliver Rue.
Sure. Yeah.
I got to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll give you our final 4 picks next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 9:51 Thursday, March 20th on Jocks 94.5. Live on YouTube, and you can go back and watch on YouTube every day. Search Jocks 945 there.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year. They're the national champs. They've won 5 straight national championships. Think about that. Think about how hard it is to win the national championship in March Madness. Imagine doing that among 1,800 GMC dealers. They're number 1, though, according to General Motors. And good news for us, it's a short drive right up I-65, exit 310, Highway 31. You can go and check it out yourself. It's amazing the deals that they have on the lot, like a GMC Sierra 1500 4x4 with leather. It's a loaded vehicle, $66,000 is the list price. You get it for under $53,000. At $52,795, you can take $13,000 off the sticker. Deals like that keep people come back to why 75% of their business is repeat customers. It's because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. So short drive to Coleman, you'll be glad you did. You can also shop online. I'll deliver right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
Texas goes down to Xavier 86-80 last night, so Xavier will move into the field of 64. Mount St. Mary's took out American University, so the Americans are done in this tournament. No more. They will be out of March Madness.
America.
They're out of March Madness. We don't really need to spend a ton of time on exact games here. We'll have time to review them tomorrow and look further into the tournament tomorrow. We will do that from 7 to 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. 3-man front coming up to you next. Paul Feinbaum after that with all your tournament coverage. And 1:30 today, this station will roll into the Auburn broadcast against Alabama State. Your Final Four. I already alluded to mine earlier in the show, so I'll just give it again. I went all 1 seeds in the Final Four. Straight chalk. Auburn, Florida, Houston, Duke. Some people might say this is the best sound in sports.
It's up there. Dun, dun, dun. If only they could follow it with the Augusta piano.
Jesus. Golly. What's next? Like, you going to give us the stimp meter reads for the first green?
He always says he has like a couple go-tos, like stimp meter. He heard one time, still doesn't know what it means, but
tell me how much the wind and Amen Corner is going to affect the tee shots. It's really howling today. Yeah, we know. We've seen it 38 times.
See, the problem with you though is you didn't have any flair for the dramatic.
I just love how you think everybody
reveal.
thinks it's so different every year. This first tee downhill, it can be troublesome.
It's a tradition.
Watch that rough to the left. They put a new pine tree in.
It's a tradition unlike any other.
You know, they removed the 197-year-old pine tree here on the dogleg left. It's really going to open it up. Second shot.
Here we go.
Yeah, we know. We've seen it 57 other times.
Cole hates tradition. Let the record be known. I'm going to bring in the little flair for dramatic here.
That's why I went with 4 number 1 seeds, because traditionally that does not happen.
Yes, he's all about it. He's Chalkman. All right, here we go. And in the Final Four, McElroy's bracket here in the 2025 March Madness Tournament, the Michigan State Spartans will advance out of the South, where they will knock off not just the Auburn Tigers, but also the Texas A&M Aggies in the Elite Eight. Yes, that's right. Auburn out in the Sweet 16. Duke will advance ahead of the Crimson Tide of Alabama out of the East bracket. I just think Duke's too good, too deep, too much talent. Bama too inconsistent. Concerned about turnovers. I think we can win it. Turnovers scare me. In a situation like this, out of the Midwest, I will take the Tennessee Volunteers, who will beat the Clemson Tigers in the Elite Eight to punch their ticket to the Final Four. And finally, out of the West, I will take the Florida Gators. They did an amazing job all season long.
No doubt.
I think they are the best team, maybe the highest ceiling, and I will take them to get to the Final Four over St. John Johnnies and Rick Pitino.
All right, Damian, your Final Four. We don't need every tournament game.
Yeah, I'm going with the one I'm most confident in.
If you want.
The one I'm most confident in. I have Auburn taking on St. John's, and I have the Houston Cougars taking on the Arizona Wildcats.
Okay. Are we going to get winners tomorrow? Okay, that's fine. We'll do that.
In the South, in the top left, I've got the Auburn Tigers. In the West, bottom left, I've got St. John's. In the East, top right, I've got Wisconsin. And in the Midwest, bottom right, I've got the Tennessee Volunteers.
Wow.
We're not doing winners tomorrow because
we can
the
do winners right now.
Today.
Let's
I've got Duke advancing to the championship game, Auburn advancing to the championship game, and I'm taking Auburn to win the national title.
Oh, God.
Of course.
So it must have been how they played down the stretch.
It's like tradition, you said.
I will take the Florida Gators over the Duke Blue Devils to win the national championship.
Okay. I have the Houston Cougars knocking off the St. John Red Storm.
Oh, wow.
That's a different one. Okay.
And as mentioned before, I have Auburn defeating Wisconsin in the championship game.
That would be
hashtag
Barn Radio.
It is odd how Greg brought up with Wisconsin, though. The seeding would not be overly surprising, but the discussion around the team would be very surprising.
Correct. No one's talking about Wisconsin.
Nobody.
No one.
That's why you listen to our show. We talk about the teams nobody talks about. Like horse racing gates opening.
Yep. That's what the people want.
That's it.
The sound of a mint julep going down your gullet.
And coming back out because they're gross.
Yeah, they are gross. Such an overrated drink.
All right, we are back tomorrow morning recapping Auburn, Alabama State, previewing Alabama, Robert Morris, and talking a lot more tourney, as well as a Alabama spring quarterback conversation tomorrow on Jock's 3-Man Front coming to you next.